NOBODIES.
I do like my old grade school days.
No, you're good.
It's like how I used to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a bunch of photos, me holding my nephew, and I'm wearing my hat like this, like a noob.
Dude, that is cool.
Right? And my mom was like, she goes, you wouldn't ever put your hat all the way on. I was like, why? She goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I would buy the same hat. I bought the same hat like 4 times in a row.
Oh, right.
The exact same one. Like a gray, sort of specific gray Nike hat.
Yeah. Interesting. Cheers, man.
Oh, yeah. Salute.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Mitch, I don't even know your last name is Arce?
Arce.
RC.
Spanish, it's supposed to be like Arce. But my wife calls me a coconut. So like I'm brown on the outside, white on the inside. So it's Arce.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the E is not silent.
Guy, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was Arce for a second. I was like, that's like what we had to say when we were religious, but we weren't allowed to swear.
Arse. Oh, you're British?
No, but yeah, we would just figure out, it's like darn it instead of damn it. Arse, fudge.
Well, don't they say arse in
I think they do.
the UK?
Yeah.
Or wherever?
I'm surprised my dad didn't say it more. Didn't say arse more because he says wash instead of wash.
The washing machine?
Yeah. Washington, D.C.
Yeah. That's exactly. I think we've been saying it wrong this entire time.
I've never heard anybody say that. It's like some sort of East Coast.
No, it's like Midwest.
Is it?
Yeah, because my mother-in-law says washing machine. So I think she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the Midwest.
Interesting.
I think it's something from like some European geology or something.
Russell gets in the pod sometimes.
That's fine.
Don't worry, probably won't jump on your lap, but...
Well, because we haven't been hanging out long enough.
Yeah. He's like, I want to say he's 13. We've got a lot of time together. Not bad. Make appearances here and there.
Okay.
How's the new year?
New Year's moving very fast already, but also slow at the same time. Yeah, it's been good.
Dude, mine has been so slow. I just want to say real quick, we're both drinking dark beers, but I found these Black Butte non-alcoholic porters, and because I've been drinking a lot of non-alcoholic beers, but this is just like it. These are really good.
I'm gonna have to try it, but for now I will have my alcoholic one.
Yeah, for sure. Salute.
I'm drinking it, and I'm also drinking it really fast. I've been here like 10 minutes.
You get as drunk as you want, but
I know it tastes really good. So
yeah, if you get too drunk, I'll have to get you Ray out here.
That would also like ruin everything that I've looked for the last 6 years. It's like, the one time you got on a podcast, you just got ripped.
So there's this guy called Ray, but he's like a car and driver service.
Yeah.
We use him at Rudy's a lot. If somebody gets too drunk, they're like, I don't want to, they're giving you him haul around for like, if I Uber, then I have to come get my car. I'm like, get Ray, he'll come get you in your car. He's super cheap.
Oh, nice.
And then I'll also use it when I get too drunk at work. And then,
which you're not doing now.
No, yeah, it's been good. But so just get too ripped, and then he comes and this other lady with him grabs your car. You sit in the passenger seat. Most times I like fall asleep and then I wake up. I'm like, oh, he's like, you're on, bud. And I'm like, all right, sweet.
What a way to take advantage of like a culture. You're like, look, there's a lot of drunk people and we don't need them on the road, so I'm just gonna pick them up. Yeah. Whereas me, I'm like, I don't even remember the last time I had more than 2 drinks.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to that point in the like on my regular drinking. I don't mind. Like I really do like getting ripped here and there. Like I love a good just drunk night. But I don't want to, like, I've been doing that.
What about the days after?
So the way I have been living, the way I have been living in the last like 2 to 3 years when I'm not on a sobriety kick is you just keep drinking the next morning, and that way you don't get hungover.
So you just don't stop.
Right.
So you roll over, wake up, there's a beer waiting for you.
Yeah, and I really try not to do that, but I noticed myself slipping into that behavior like over Christmas. And so I was like, dude, I've got to lock this up. So I have these extremes where it's just like I can lock it up if I give myself a challenge, like 75 hard or a contract, or I told you about the pain contract I was doing. Yeah. And then I can really lock it up. And then it's just like as soon as those are done, there's something that switches and I can't like stop myself from drinking. So it's very alcoholic tendencies.
Okay, yeah. So you just trend in that direction.
Yeah. So if I can't,
so interesting.
Like I was been talking to my therapist about it, and she's just like, I feel like you can do it. Like you've been showing yourself that you do have the control. in all these situations. So let's work on it next time. Once you're done with 75 hard, let's work on, moderation and shit like that. So,
Is it a trigger thing? Like, because it's like, because you can do something like 75 hard.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's a very black and white thing.
Yeah.
That's why a friend of mine doesn't drink at all anymore, because he's like, I already know it.
Yeah. Well, and I know that if my life progresses that way, I'd probably eventually do that. But I also know that I can pull it back, like in these situations. So it is kind of all or nothing, or it has been.
Yeah.
But like the contract is really good, because I'm like, oh, you can only have this many drinks a week, or else you pay $1,000 or $2,000. So then I just wouldn't, because I'm like, dude, I'm not paying that money.
Myself $1,000, or I'm not paying wherever. Yeah, for sure. Well, we live on contracts, don't we? Like, just socially living on contracts.
That's why I was like, this isn't that bad of a thing.
No.
We make contracts with
ourselves, with other people all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, word contracts.
But alcohol is definitely the vice.
Okay.
I struggle with the most. So
But if I were to say there's a vice it's sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alcohol's
never been a thing. It's like for me, it's
not even when you're living in what was it, San Diego? No.
Yeah, in San Diego. Yeah. And even in Chicago. Yeah.
San Diego and partying and shit.
No, I didn't. I know we moved there. We moved there in 2016. I was dating somebody. We up and dipped out of Chicago, and then moved to San Diego. I was already on the personal development kick of like, I'm not going to party and drink anymore, because I did. I went to college life, high school, drank and partied up in Chicago. But then, and in Iowa, but then when I met her, I had already started to move in the direction of like, I don't want to do late nights. Like, I love early mornings.
You already read like the 4 a.m. No, the 4 a.m. club or what?
5 a.m. club?
Who talks about that?
Oh, I forget what book that is, but yeah, the 5 a.m. club. I didn't read that until I got to San Diego.
I never read that. I refuse.
It's such a. You refuse to have it. I'm gonna send you one. It's gonna be the 5 p.m. club. Yeah. It's just gonna be like a late night guy, like the night owl.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do that in San Diego. I was not partying already. We moved out there. I moved out there with a girl I figured I was going to marry.
Yeah.
Like for real marry. Right. Not like play house with and marry, but before. So yeah, I don't remember the last time I got ripped. So yeah, Chicago was a whole different story though.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the last time I had more than one drink. Yeah. Or more than two.
Did you have a cocktail when you went to Sturman's that night? Mm-hmm. How was it?
Stout.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have some really good cocktails there.
Will's the bartender, right?
I don't know the bartender's name that well.
I think it was. I'm
was he the older guy with the beard? Like a small beard.
No.
Okay, so.
No, he was a taller dude. I think he was bald.
I think I've seen him too. Yeah. I've seen everybody, and I've like so I've worked there a couple shifts, or I've done video a couple shifts there, and then I've just been in to chill.
Yeah, I've had so my buddy is a cigar aficionado. So he pointed me to a cigar that I knew I wanted with a stout.
Yeah. Okay.
It was money.
Yeah. Was he doing doing the behind the scenes or like the video stuff?
No, he was just a buddy who came through. So what we ended up doing was having. I just shot out. I love the fact that I have friends that are willing to be like, 2 days, I'll make time. Like for a venture, because that's what I was doing. And so we just had 10 guys. About 10 guys showed up, sat around, smoked some cigars, and then my guys videoed it around. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out Sturman's.
And Optic Element. That's who did all my videography and all kind of stuff. So
is he the guy from San Diego? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you meet Ryan? He's short glasses.
Yeah, he's a funny dude, man.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
He has a cool story. I would like to get on the podcast. Dude, this is funny. I don't know if he listens to this or not, but I asked him.
Well, you said nobody listens to it, so I mean, it's just.
Yeah. Well, so I would say on average, right, my viewership went way down because my consistency fell off. And so then when I put another one out, I wasn't getting nearly what I got when I first started.
Right.
But
you were putting out how many when you first started? Like
when I first
one twice a week?
No, but I was doing like once a week or once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But for the first like 15 or 18, I was consistently doing it. It was all friends, so people were checking out. It was a new thing.
Yeah.
And then I just dropped off for like a year. So then when I started posting them, like nobody was watching. So I'm at like between YouTube and Spotify, maybe like 50 views an episode.
Yeah.
But so now I'm just like, okay, well, let's see what I can do with one a week for a whole year. See how I can build it.
52, man.
Yeah. So, well, then on top of what I did, I'll be close to 100. So 100 will be like a big milestone.
Yeah. What are we going to do for 100?
I don't know. I was thinking about doing something cool for even 50. That's coming up pretty soon. But I talked to, who's the guy? I don't know if I think he's from Utah, but he was the artist. Him and his wife with the dreads.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still doing their podcast, but I talked to him just briefly when I met you. And he was like, oh, yeah, you don't even settle in until 50.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, just keep doing the episodes. You'll get there. And versus most people.
That is where we met.
Yeah.
It was that night.
Yeah, that night. But yeah, so I was talking to Ryan about, I was like, dude, would you ever be down to let me do a podcast here? And I think he thought I meant interviewing him, but I wasn't sure. But he was just like, I'm going to be honest, man. He's like, some of the content you put on your podcast. And he's like, I don't know if I could associate with that.
Listen,
and so
I also had a hard time doing that. No.
That's why I was like, I wondered. I was wondering if I was just like, no, that's fair, dude. I'm like, I don't care if you say no. You know?
Right.
But he's like, yeah, I have stories. So he was in prison for like 3 years or
like prison.
Yeah.
Really?
So he has some stories.
Yeah.
And my buddy Joe, who plays music there, he's like, dude, you should get Ryan on sometime. Like, he has some really cool stories.
Right.
You know, and then he's a family man. He runs whatever.
That's too funny.
I had that to try to get the glare off the wall.
That's like sub 50. That's the sub 50 problem.
Yeah. That shit will all go away after 50.
Yeah, after 50. None of that stuff happens. Ain't nothing falling off. Nothing.
Dude, it's crazy the amount of like problems you still run into, like no matter how far you get into something. It's still just like,
it's not going to be perfect. That's the wild thing is people think it's all perfect. No, you just know how to get through the problem faster.
Yeah,
that's all it is. You're just better at it. So it's not the problem doesn't go away. And you get ahead of it too.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to eventually I'll have, if I have a producer or somebody just even live, then they can monitor everything. Cause like I'll get lost in a conversation
100%.
Or get too drunk. And either way, like not realize.
Unless we learn how to really edge yourself, so then you're not all or nothing. And you're like, hey, I only got these like this drink.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't need you to have a pitcher of whiskey.
Yeah, I actually have committed to not getting so drunk on the podcast when I do it again. I had this contract once where it was the first paying contract I did. It was 2 years ago, and I was like, I'm only allowed to have 3 days a week of drinking and 5 drinks a day, which is low for me.
For you. It's like, bro, that's 15 drinks a week.
Yeah. So I know for the average person, it's still a lot. For me, that was cutting it way back.
Yeah.
But I had an exception on podcast days. I could drink as much as I want. And so I would just fucking get so lit during podcast days because like, it's the one day I get to drink. And then I would just get so trashed by the end. It was just annoying, like really annoying by the end of the podcast.
I bet.
Like, dude, this is
Did you get to a point? See, there's a problem if you get to a point where you just turn the camera on. You just hit record, so you're watching whatever show you want, but it's recording. You're like, it's going to be a podcast, so I get more drinks. No, that's...
I did that once or twice.
The freaking loopholes, bro. The loopholes.
I use it as a loophole for sure, man.
Yeah, we got an issue. That's
there's some problems there. So then this last podcast or last contract I did, I was like, I'm not doing that. And
no loopholes.
The nail in the coffin for me on like how bad it got was I went home and I did a podcast with my brother and sister, but I ended up doing a podcast before that with my cousin who's a firefighter. So I did 2 back to back. So I was drinking with him, and then I started drinking with my brother's sister, and I got so drunk I fell asleep, and they were just talking, and I was just sitting there like.
No, seriously?
Yeah, it was so.
You gotta have clips of that.
I do. I know, like, even in the moment, I'm like, dude, nobody wants to watch this. But I do think eventually, 200 episodes in, bring it back. This is where I was.
When you bring that, no, yeah, that's definitely a bring back moment. Yeah. That's not that's not your claim to fame. That's going to be just, hey, this is
where I was.
This is what was going on. And it's just a clip of you just them talking. Yeah, no, 100%. It's funny talking about loopholes.
Yeah, the loophole thing is interesting because you definitely do things to find those. I mean, I feel like...
Well, because if you want to do something, you're going to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
But if you realize it's not actually that important, you're not going to look for loopholes.
Like when growing up religious, I don't really have any success with women, but once or twice.
Aren't you dating somebody right now?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There's a success.
That changed drastically in my mid to late 20s.
But now, okay, so we're talking before.
Dude, it was bad. Yeah. I was a weird little nerd kid and didn't have any kind of, I don't know. I didn't have any somebody to follow or even learn, but I wasn't good with the females. But the loopholes that Christian kids would get around, I can't have sex. But
And when I heard about what Mormons do,
oh my god,
bro,
the poop hole loophole.
Oh, what?
You never heard that?
No, that's a loophole. Seriously,
that's the common name. And I have not talked to a girl who said that, but I have heard of people that are like, oh, dude, I met this one girl, and she's like, oh, I'm a virgin. And then he's like, wait, you never had sex? You're like, oh, no, yeah, we have anal. And people are like, what?
It's like, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
or head. But they literally do that. They're like, as long as we don't go in the vagina. And
then it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which I'm like, any of that is opening up doors.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a loophole.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so, dude, the whole religious thing, we grew up the same way. We grew up Catholic. And I basically, I basically walked away after high school. I went to a Catholic high school where they taught world religions class.
Interesting.
So I was like, so you're going to show me all these other religions, but really not put the installation of, you're not installing the values. You're just showing me all these things.
Yeah.
And as soon as a kid gets hurt in some way, shape, or form, you're going to bounce out.
Interesting.
Something happens to me in high school and you're just you're going to bounce out. The only thing that tied me to going on a Sunday, going to Catholic school was one, I was paying for Catholic high school. My mom was. And then that was it. Or I had to go. Yeah. As soon as I had the opportunity to not go, I'm not going. Because there's no values. There's no, there's nothing there. So you find loopholes all day. And then you just, I didn't walk back into Christianity until I moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
So.
Did they paint the other religions in a poor light? Straw man them kind of?
I don't actually remember. I don't think so. I just remember that world religions class was so fascinating. I think just because of the way I'm wired. I love learning. I'll just whatever and anything. But I actually think it was just hey, here are these things. This is what these people actually believe, period.
Yeah.
There's no but yes, but here's why they're wrong. It was none of that. No, I don't even remember any of that. I just remember going, as a naive kid, going, okay, all of these religions have similar precepts. So how could any of them be wrong?
Right.
Or how could any of them be right?
Yeah.
So you basically, when you do that, as soon as you do that, you blanket it. And you go, oh, well then, not how do I choose? So then I'm just going to go my way. Because then there's no foundation. So
yeah,
it was an interesting thing.
We had a guy I remember teach about other religions. He definitely always put them in a negative light. He was like, yeah, this is what they believe, and this is why that's wrong, and this is why our Baptist, little culty religion was the right one.
Yeah,
and we have this. As I always say, culty, but it is very traditional Baptist.
It can be.
But it was very culty in the way it was organized, structured, the rules around it, the small group of families, etc. But
it can be culty.
Yeah. But I thought
People
Mormons still had multiple wives.
Oh yeah, isn't it? It's outlawed in like the new book or something like that.
Yeah, but so the way he taught it was just like, yeah, so they, they believe in polygamy and the blah 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 blah. So when I moved to San Diego and I was selling websites like over the phone, I was like cold calling.
Yeah.
And I knew there's this Mormon kid in. I was like, hey man, I gotta ask you, like, do you have multiple wives?
Yeah, of course. I mean, because you don't know any better. You're like, listen, I know that, like, I've only seen one of them drop off your lunches, but like, does the other one do dinner? Yeah. Is that like how you set that up?
Dude,
is it like days?
He's like, no, bro. And I was like, damn it, I wish you did.
I just wanted to affirm what I had learned. I just needed to affirm that. I think about that, and me and my wife, we don't. Is your cat out there? What is going on?
I have roommates.
It's like, I mean, I was nice. I'm like, your cat has some skill. Yeah. Like, you're not even flinching that the water's turning on. You're not even nothing. It's nice and shocking.
Yeah, I have 3 roommates.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah. So we
they hear all kinds of shit when I'm.
I bet when you're lit up.
And
the podcast guests.
Yeah, there's been some good ones.
No, we've like joked about it. I'm like, bro, I'm good with one wife. Like this, because we're best friends. Mm-hmm. So like we have the healthiest relationship. We're awesome, and we've worked through a lot. I'm like, how do you try to do that with multiple people? Let alone just like one person that you can focus on. Like, if you don't put it in front of me, I'm not going to focus on it. Yeah. So you give me more than one wife, I'm like, I'm not. There's no way.
Well, it's like you said, it's not, the problems don't go away. You just get better at it.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. They're just more skilled at matrimony.
Yeah. Dude, you just get better at handling those issues.
I didn't mean to limit myself. I apologize. That was not, I actually realized that's a limitation probably. That's a limiting self-belief.
Yeah.
That's... They're just sharper. They're just sharper.
Yeah.
No, but isn't it also like sister wives? So like they're all supposed to be good friends.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, I've never watched that show.
I haven't either.
But I mean, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like I'm not a monogamous person, so I don't typically date exclusively. But
even with your girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like we'll see other people, but like I'm not really doing it because I don't have time. So time is a big one. It's like, I don't really have time to devote to a ton of people. It's like having too many friends, It's like, you can't hang out once a week with 10 dudes, like whatever.
No. And if you're just sleeping around, it's just sleeping around.
Right.
It's not even like, there's nothing. It's just.
Yeah. It's just fluff.
Yeah. So the reason why you're in a more monogamous relationship is time.
Yeah.
So basically, don't give you more time.
Yeah,
that's just not...
If I get more time, then more girls will arrive.
That's exactly how that works.
Yeah.
Every man, it says every man ever. If it was just this way, they'd just be rolling in, and you're like, no, dude, it's probably you.
Yeah. But I don't think I'll ever get married, and I can't imagine being like married to multiple people. It's just it's a lot of work. But
you never get married.
I have no desire to.
No.
I can change my mind. There's 2 things that like there's 3 things that are very counterculture that I have. Monogamy, marriage, kids. I'm just like, nah.
Zero from. Is it because it's counterculture?
It could be. I've been challenged on that, where they're like, "Are you just contrarian just because you have to?"
Because you have to be contrarian. Yeah.
I might be part of it, but I just, I don't really. I always felt weird when I didn't want to like. When I was younger, and I was just like, dude, I don't think I could just be with one person. Like, I get like itchy, I get restless, I get bored, and I always thought that was like I was just like fucked up. And then I started reading books where it was like, oh, there's a whole culture of people who like do this differently.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh shit, like this is a thing that actually people
linear.
Embrace. Like, it's not like everybody is monogamous. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So but the whole kids thing, I don't know. It just, when I was really young, I want, like 18, 19, I was like, oh, I want to get married and have kids, and then it just like disappeared. And I have lots of nieces and nephews, and every time I see them, I'm like, all right, I'm good on kids.
And you're making me be celibate.
Yeah.
That's it right there. I'm not going to multiply because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was the same way. I was, no. So I was it's so interesting because it was like, you grow up and you say things because you probably like, well, because you grew up in like a Baptist background. So it's like married, kids, community, right? And it's like, and then you realize it's super cultish and you're like, I'm not doing that at all. It's a terrible way to run it. And if that includes kids, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But I grew up and it was like, it was a do as I say, not as I do type scenario, but I'm going to do as you do, not as you say. And it was like, oh, I'm going to get married and have kids. That's like what you do. But like, as I get older and you start sleeping around, you start partying, you start doing all this stuff, you're like, yeah, I'm going to get married and have kids, but I'm not doing anything that's actually moving me in that direction. Yeah. I'm actually just some like juvenile mid-20s guy who's like, yeah, I'm going to do that at some point, but I'm, there's precepts and things you got to do to, unless it happens by accident. Right. Yeah. Unless it's like happenstance. Yeah. One night stand turned into the rest of my life. That kind of scenario. But other than that, it's like, I was the same way until I had a couple friends check me. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had like a lot of people be like, oh, I just haven't found the right one. I'm like, yeah, maybe. Like I've changed my mind on other things before. I don't want to be a person who's like never, but I'm like, if I'm not feeling like I want it, then I'm not going to do it until if I've turned 50 and I'm like, yeah, I want this thing now, then I guess
that's where you're at. Yeah. There's a friend of mine is a lot like that, and he goes, that's what he says too. Like we'll talk about something, and we've led some like masterminds together, and he's like, we'll talk about something in a space where he's leading, or it's up basically like, I either need to get him on board or I need to convince him so he can lead it. And he's like, okay, change my mind. I'm like, all right, I got to get my like debate hat on. I got to make sure my points are solid and everything. So it's basically you're like, change my mind. It's just,
Yeah, I love a good argument in those cases because and they're fun as long as people aren't getting like upset. If you're like, hey, we're doing this just for fun to challenge each other. And because people can get really upset if you challenge a belief or something, but
I used to be that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, now I'm just like, dude, I'm telling you, it's the greatest decision I ever made. But my pastor even says, he's like, your marriage can be the closest thing to heaven or hell. Yeah. It's basically up to you. So, so it's the greatest decision I ever made, aside from following Jesus. But that's also work. So it's anything. It's like if you are gonna change your mind and go that direction, it's totally gonna be like
right.
It's and
anything is work. Yeah. Like you said, it's like having two wives is just more work. Like that's still gonna be work too. So being monogamous with one person is work. There's gonna be temptation, there's gonna be commitment, all that stuff. But there's other having no kids is like I believe that that's like one of those decisions, like one or the other, right? So if I have kids, I will have the joy of like there's just the investment, and it's what like we're naturally supposed to make. It's like we procreate. Yeah. It's like you're fulfilling this like natural desire, and it brings you a lot of joy, meaning, fulfillment. Yeah. But it is a lot of work, stress, pain, worry, etc. Yeah. And if I don't have kids, I'm avoiding all the work, stress, pain, but I'm also now not getting the fulfillment. So I have to really, like I'm realizing as I age, I have to really invest in quality relationships, in friendships, in mentorship, because I'm like, if I don't have investment, I don't get that fulfillment. So
because there's no ROI.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's 100%. There's no ROI on it. Also, I mean, you also got to set yourself up on a culture standpoint, like who's taking care of you? Yeah. Or like, where's the...
That's why I plan to be rich.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, yeah. Scrooge McDuck learned money ain't gonna take care of you, bro. No, it wasn't Scrooge McDuck. It's a kid in me that's like watching him dive into like the gold coins. Oh, yeah. Was that? Yeah, I was like, God, that must hurt. No, it was Ebenezer. Ebenezer Scrooge. It was like, money didn't take care of him, bro. Yeah. Wasn't it? But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. You have to figure out you have to find depth somewhere else, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, could change my mind in 10 years or whatever. Yeah. But that's one of the beauties of being man. I don't have a clock. But I did get snipped, so there's that.
You did?
Yeah.
When?
7 years ago.
It'd be funny if you just said like last week. I was like, oh, that's why you're sitting on that ice bag right now.
Right.
Yeah. 7 years ago. What made you do it?
I have the ice bag on the camera.
Yeah. Do you really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it overheats if I don't. It's like, it just gets so hot. the length of time is really what kills it. Yeah, my ex-girlfriend had a scare, and then I was just like, was seeing some like kind of randomly fucking some other people at the time, and I was like, dude, what if one of these just randos decides to keep a baby that I don't want to dive into that relationship? And I was like, I haven't wanted this for 10 years. It's time to pull the trigger on a decision. Yeah. So I made it, and then it was like, if I ever change my mind, I will adopt, and I feel very comfortable and confident in the adoption. Like, I'm not worried about my DNA going somewhere. You know, like, because some people are like, I need it to be mine, and I understand that. I don't think I'll have that. It's just like, no, I can adopt and still find the same fulfillment of.
You can, and I have a few friends that have adopted, and they're just like, they're like, that's my kid. Yeah, like, because there's like a switch that flips, a flip that switches. Yeah. What you put in that beer? There's a switch that flips for sure. Yeah. But it's a decision. That's so wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys want kids at some point, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing about not having kids, but doing what we do. It's like you.
Yeah, because you're running the kids program
at our church at Awaken.
Awaken, yeah.
And so we don't have kids yet, but we're like, we go, all right, so. Adoption, you talk adoption, you're like this, that, all these different routes that so many people take. And you basically just have to like put blinders on sometimes. You just go, okay, because everyone's got an opinion. Everyone talks about different things. And you're like, because even now I'm like, you got snipped 7 years ago. What if you changed your mind? It's like, all right, well then I'll adopt. I'm like, all right, cool. There you go. There's your decision. Yeah. So, we don't have kids yet. So it's interesting. We want them. Yeah. Yeah. And they'll come.
Yeah. Are you guys waiting until a certain time, or are you just letting go whenever?
No, just whenever we know what's going to happen.
My oldest sister, her and her husband were more Catholic. Well, she's not Catholic, but I think her husband was, and didn't believe in birth control.
They have 7?
They have 6. But she lost a couple, but she's been pregnant like 10 times. Dang. But yeah, it's just like as they go, and I'm like,
that's so tough.
Yeah, and I think her last one she had at like 39 or something.
Yeah.
But gets a little more dangerous, I guess, as you get older. But
that's what they say. But the amount of they say that
it's dangerous no matter what.
No matter what, it's like you're pushing a child out of you. That's just dangerous. Like the amount of the women that died at childbirth, like back in the day.
Oh my god,
like ridiculous. So now it's like they talk about age being a factor, and yet, so it's also experience too. Because the amount of friends that I have that are, let's say, what is it? 35 maybe, something like that. Like older, or at risk, higher risk.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's like pregnancy. I'm totally probably quoting that number wrong, but you go, okay, 35 plus. The amount of women that I know that have multiple children after 35, and some of them having children at 40, and they all have safe pregnancies. They're all like happy, healthy babies. They're all happy, healthy moms. Like, I'm like, okay, well, my experience is showing me that if you live a certain way and you have a certain like frame of mind, it's going to be totally fine. Also, our aged life expectancy is that much longer too. So I'm like, it's not.
I mean, I might challenge you on that because, of course, you know the alive ones.
Oh, jeez. yeah. Well, that's only my experience.
There's like a thing where the delusion of success, where like the successful person wrote the book. So it's just like, oh, just do what I do, and it's like success. The people that failed didn't write the book.
Well, it's like whoever wins the war is who writes the history.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So you know about all the girls that made it through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do know a lot of people who have miscarried too. So I'm like, there's the tragedy and the triumph to both of those things. And yes, I don't know. I do know the miscarriages, and those were tragic. And then they still tried again.
And
then they had their kid, and I was like, So that has happened too.
Yeah.
I mean, like your sister going, she's
into the ringer. But she was saying, I think the average is 1 in 4 pregnancies are miscarried. And don't quote me on that, but there is like it's pretty common. So she's like, I mean, if you think of how many how many kids I have, well, almost guaranteed I'd have at least 2 miscarriages with having 6 kids.
You're talking like objective numbers across the board. Yeah, I mean, that the amount of miscarriages that I know about that I wouldn't have, if you talked to me at 24 to think about how many people I knew had miscarriages or like even got pregnant, be wild, because the crew I ran with then and crew I run with now.
Right.
That's such an odd thing to think like that's, well, because no one's ever going to go into something like that that's supposed to be such a beautiful scenario, and, you know, you're raising a child, rearing a child. No one's ever going into it like, I'm going to miscarry as a percentage of course. What I'm doing. That's such an odd thing to even think about.
Even though the statistics there,
the statistics show it. I think because it's life. So you're like, oh, this is life, so this is going to continue to move forward.
Right.
It's such a, and even to be a woman and think about it that way.
Oh, it has to be scary as fuck. Yeah. I mean, it is very devastating. Even if it's just early in the pregnancy, it's still like once you know, you're like, oh, I'm having this baby, and then it's gone.
And it's gone. It's a total thing.
I think that's also why the Mormons probably had multiple wives. You know, what if this one dies, and then they have another one just to,
Or was it John Smith? John Smith just really wanted to write that in. He's like, it was like a dream of his.
I think he wrote it in for his own interest.
I think that was a little selfish on his end. I actually wouldn't put it back past that book.
There's a show that I want to watch on. I think is it Netflix? Maybe it's Prime. But it's American not Savage. American. It's all about the Mormons crossing the.
It's about the Mormons crossing for Manifest Destiny,
and apparently it's gnarly.
Because the opening scene is brutal.
Yeah, it's I've heard it's a very brutal show. Yeah, but it's like depicts it really well, and like how they encounter the Native Americans and just like
because even 1883 was.
Oh yeah, pretty gnarly.
They're scalping people like arrows and like Yeah. So, I started watching it. I had to be in the headspace to watch something like that. You can't just like pop it open. Like I was talking about Apocalypto.
Oh, yeah.
I have to be in there.
It's great.
I've gotten myself in the headspace. I'm going to watch it in the next couple days.
Oh, yeah?
Because I haven't watched it for like a year. I'm like,
aren't they making a second one? I heard somebody say that. Or I heard a poster. The thing is, I get tricks because now you'll get these AI posters that'll pop up and like these sequels, and then you never know what's true. So
no, don't do a sequel to that one.
Yeah, that would be weird.
There's a few of those that are just one and done.
God, though, when she burst the baby in that water, like
the water
hunting her. Oh my God, so intense.
It's so intense. Yeah, she literally births a child while holding another child and staying above
and trying to be quiet.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's gnarly. Gnarly.
Dude, I gotta pee.
You did it. Oh, thank you, sir. You're so
brand
nice.
new.
Oh, it's a solar company.
Yeah, I used to work for. Oh, you might have to take that plastic cap on there off. I think it has, or maybe not.
No, that's the chapstick.
Okay, I thought I had a plastic still in it.
That's just right here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't give me some blue.
I used to work for them. They were that was a Mormon company. Well, it wasn't a Mormon company, but
was it founded by Mormons?
Yeah, most solar companies.
I was about to say that. Again, based on my experience, every solar company I worked for was founded by a Mormon.
Yeah, so same. Well, they're incredible door knockers.
They're incredible.
I mean, if you
workers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's more than just the door knocking. But I mean, like, dude, if you can knock doors for 2 years, selling the hardest thing to sell ever, like you can sell anything.
Well, imagine doing. I mean, solar wasn't even that hard. I can imagine like. Well, I guess anything would be difficult, but like pest control or I'm thinking what else we used to come across, like the guys we would come across while we're knocking doors for solar. Yeah. So it was pest control. People would be doing like roofs.
Or like, what is it, the Dish Networks or whatever TV?
I mean, this is the early 2000s. Security, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I ever had anybody selling Dish, like
was it Dish?
Satellites.
There was there's something else.
I see the satellites on homes. I'm like, do those even work anymore? I don't even know if those. But yeah, it was securities because it was Vivint Security. Yeah. It was, and then it was pest controls, and then those are like mom and pop stuff sometimes, or even national brands. But but the Mormons. I knew a guy I worked with who was like top of the top. He was like you said his name in the industry, and everyone knew him. Yeah. Everyone. It was kind of wild because he was like 1,000 install person. Like he'd done like 800 or 1,000 installs or something like that. Yeah.
He was a sales guy?
He was a sales guy. And he also ran an office and then ended up changing companies, whatever. But you say his name and you're like, oh, that's the dude.
Did you ever go to SolarCon?
Probably. I don't know. Maybe. Oh, I didn't. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I hadn't. I wasn't like all in on it. There was a time where I was like, I need to do something. And my buddies kept trying to poach me for it. And it was one of those things where I was like, all right, time feels like the right time.
Yeah.
So I jumped into it. But I was never like...
Yeah,
all in everything solar.
Right.
Even now, I'm like, I look at the solar industry. I'm like, I don't know if I'm based on all the stuff I'm learning about solar.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's actually not that great for the environment.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's like more shit's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, there's just I don't know. I have a few friends that were in it and then they kind of pulled out of it, or it's just like the regulations are changing. It's not as good, and it's also a lot of skeezy companies.
A lot, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, I have some friends that knew how to do it right, so they stayed with really reputable companies. And then I had other guys that did not.
I have a good friend he's been on the podcast. He lives around here. Oh, yeah, you might have met him, Cameron. Yeah. So he's been burnt, like just fucked over by some solar companies and would sell a bunch, and then like the installers just wouldn't pay him, or
or like the distributors or the what is it? The installers they go belly up like that overnight, and these guys don't get paid. It's like it was a Wild West. It's a Wild West. It was like
that's how it is.
A lot of handshake deals, a lot of like terrible horror stories of grandmas getting. The story was one of the horror stories I heard was they go knocking through like this neighborhood, guy signs up this like 89-year-old grandma or like forges a signature, and the next morning she has panels on her roof, and so she's basically like under contract for this thing, and she doesn't even remember like having the meeting with the guy or anything. Like stuff like that, like super shady stuff where guys are like forging signatures on homeowners thing. They're like running credit for people that they said no, so somehow they get their credit. Yeah, somehow they get this, like just wild stuff.
Dude, we're gonna have to get Jason Statham to go beekeeper on.
We need to go we need to go get him. So it's but none of them murdered anyone. So it's like they didn't murder Bill Cosby's wife from the Bill Cosby Show. So
is that who that was?
That's who it was. It was the wife from Bill Cosby Show.
You know what? I still haven't seen the end of that movie, even though I actually found that movie very beautiful, and the cinematography and the way the fight sequences were done.
Oh yeah,
was very unique for an action kind of movie, and like all of the lighting was that black and gold to mimic bees, and like there's all these sequences
I didn't even realize
that like it's always gold, like light coming through, and then it's dark over here.
For just the fight scenes?
No, it's just like different scenes where it's just like still mimicking a bee. You know, it's just like everything was kind of in those colors.
Now I'm gonna watch that movie again for those reasons.
But I still haven't seen the end. I keep falling asleep.
Dude. Oh God, I really appreciate this movie.
Yeah, I know, dude.
This is such a great cinematography. Stop getting lit when you're watching the movie, okay?
Dude, I don't think it was. I don't know.
Spoiler alert, everyone dies in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
They need to.
Yeah, they all do. It's a Jason Statham movie.
Yeah, it was a bit ridiculous with just some of like how sinister these guys were. Like, we're fucking over grandmas, we don't care. You know, like, okay, it's
the whole scene with the guy like bearing down on his reps.
Yeah.
It's like.
And just like the whole walk in, he's like, I'm going to burn this place. He's like, repeat after me.
And like, so Jason Statham going into those scenes, he's got, or the movies, it's got to be like, I just think about them writing a script and go like, because you write it, Jason Statham is typecast.
Yeah, you're like, I'm writing a script for Jason.
This is the movie Jason Statham is going to do. And it's going to be the most ridiculous thing in the world, but he's going to do it. It's not going to make any sense. Like, and then if you strip down every single movie, I bet you couldn't tell which movie is which one.
Right.
Like, there's no way you're going to know.
Dude, there's those movies there's movies like that where I just can't not watch them though, because I'm like, dude, I am just signing up. I'm ready for Jason Statham
just beat some people senseless and then be in the most ridiculous fight scenes.
Yeah.
That was like he did No, have you seen Wrath of Man? Oh, you got to watch Wrath of Man then.
Is it him?
Yeah. No. But it's it's not, it's funny we're talking about like him being typecast and then he's not typecast in that movie. Because it's still pretty dark, but it's not, I think he still beats on some people, like he knows all this karate and stuff, but Wrath of Man, I don't want to give it away or spoil it, but it's...
Fucking Crank.
That's pretty dope. Oh, dude. Stop watching a lot of those movies because they're so out there. Yeah, Crank. Well, wasn't there a Crank 2?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't watch that.
He falls out of the plane and he doesn't die and they make a new movie.
Oh, shit.
There's a sequel.
That's wild. Have you ever watched, speaking of just those kind of crazy movies, Hardcore Henry? It's all first-person shooter, so it reminds you of a 3D shooter. It's just a guy.
Way. I heard it,
and it's some people didn't like it because it gives you like a little seasickness or whatever because it's very like almost handheld video.
Well, yeah, if it's handheld video, it's gonna be so.
And it's just nonstop action and like, but everything you never see the guy's face. Like it's just always just. It's pretty crazy.
That is wild, Hardcore Henry. I don't know if I can watch it because I get seasick. We went out to the Bay of San Diego, and I was like, I had this. And I was trying to play it off. I went to the middle of the boat. No. So I can imagine watching. I can't even do roller coasters.
Oh, really?
No.
Dude, I just learned that you get sick on a plane or on the sea because your body thinks you're on land, or your brain thinks you're on land because you have the surface.
Yeah.
But there's this movement, so your body is just like so it's like it's disconnected with those two things.
So how do I fix that?
Dramamine.
It doesn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
It like worked, but it didn't.
But
it worked enough to be tolerable. It didn't work enough for me to go, all right.
Yeah.
Let's do some backflips on the bow.
Yeah, I never had any struggle with that, but yeah, I guess that's why it happens.
Good to know.
So probably no Mars trip for you.
Nope. No. Well, that wasn't gonna happen anyway. What does Rogan say? He's like, I don't want to be the first one. Yeah, I don't even want to be the fifth version. Yeah. I'll wait.
What if eventually, if we populate Mars, we're gonna have to send what do you call those? The missionaries.
Oh yeah. But did you say we? Because I don't know if you're not populating anything.
Well, I'm going to start my own cult, so then I want to proselytize.
so you're going to get the connection back on. You're going to get going. You're like, this is when I'm going to start having kids.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, if anyone should start a cult, it's people who grew up in cults. They left.
Well, yeah, you have the experience for sure. Yeah, you only want a cult leader who has experience with cults. Yeah, that's it, man. I don't want.
It's funny.
I'm not going to get a basketball coach who's never played basketball.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
I do find myself. I find myself drawn to those stories, like watching shows.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's there's a show called The Following I really loved. There's an Aaron Paul show called The Path I really liked.
The Following was
it's like a cult. It's like murderous or whatever.
Yeah. But then it was like a bunch of agents trying to find who the leaders are.
Yeah. David. Bacon was in it.
Yes, Kevin Bacon. Yeah. That was a good show.
Yeah, that was
a really good show. And then it got a little weird after.
Yeah, it kind of fell off. And then Aaron Paul from Idaho, he was in The Path, and that was a show when I realized I grew up in a cult. I was watching this show.
Was that the Leo DiCaprio?
This is how I grew up. I'm like, oh no. I remember texting my sister. I was like, did we grow up in a cult? And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh my God.
Yo, wait, no, that'd be great if you were like, no, that's not, there's nothing wrong with that. You're like, there's nothing wrong with that. What are you talking about? Yeah. You're like, no, it's not even how that goes. You go, I don't even know. That's not even it. You got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to make our own script. So we grew up in a cult. I just found out, I don't want to give away how I found this out. Somebody that is in my life in some way, shape, or form, I found out that they actually ran away from a cult that they were in. So the whole family had to uproot themselves and move to the Treasure Valley because they were a part of a cult. And so they had to dip out her, and all of her family. And I was like, oh, that's
pretty nice.
So I kind of still trying to pull some stuff out of her. I was like, so what's that like?
Yeah.
How do you, whatever?
That's pretty extreme.
That's pretty extreme.
Mine was definitely not super extreme or anything, but.
Yeah, it's yours was cult light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you have all kind of levels. But Dude, there's this guy. So they call it in Boise, they call it the scene, which is like the music scene. But it's like a specific scene, like electronic music and festival kids and stuff.
They call it the scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Cinda like came up, or she's been in the scene for like 10 years. So dating her, you start going to these events. It's like, oh yeah, they've been in the scene. They just call it like, oh yeah, they've been in the scene. It's just like this collective group of people that always are at the same festivals, always at the same shows, mostly electronic music, stuff like that. Yeah. So this kid arrives.
I met a DJ who does EDM music. I wonder if I just did a photo shoot with him. I wonder if he's in the scene here.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, what's his DJ name?
Something Trees. Is that
Of the Trees?
Maybe.
That's pretty big DJ though. He's not local.
Yeah, this guy's local.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. There's a fuck ton of DJs. I mean, across the board, but everybody's like
you just blinked and did that out. Yes.
Yeah. Everybody's a DJ.
There's a lot of DJs. Yeah.
I was like telling Sid, I was like, dude, should I be a DJ too? I mean, every one of her friends is a DJ.
No. And are they good?
No. I mean, there are really good. There's really good ones and there's really terrible ones.
Yeah, that's across the board in any industry. I think there's really good cults and then there's really bad cults.
Exactly. But I was just like, I have a music background. I could probably pick it up quicker. It's like, why not? Everybody's doing it.
Everyone's doing it. Yeah. I mean, don't you just push some buttons and push some?
That's what I thought. I used to make fun of them so hard. But yeah, I guess there's a lot to it. But especially if you want to be good and do a lot of like live mixing and.
I have this idea on DJs. I want to. It's probably already out there, but have you ever heard of Fit Radio?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Fit Radio is like you basically there are a lot of pre-made playlists for whatever fitness routine or class you're doing or type of workout that you want to go into. But it's based on like beats per minute or genre.
Mm-hmm.
But what I actually want to do is build. Well, I mean, AI's out now, so it's got to be easy to do. Right? Because that's what AI makes things easy.
Right.
You basically go, all right, so you because I used to do group fitness classes.
Right.
So basically it was so hard to like edit out and you want the timing, you want the beat to drop right at the right point. So you're like going through your script of what the routine is of your workout when they're hitting certain 45 intervals or whatever you're doing, right? And then you're doing certain exercises that are going to hit harder than others and some aren't going to be as like intense as others, and then there's going to be rest periods. Well, if you just put like a regular playlist up, sometimes you have to like edit the track or like skip this to the song or just play like a piece of it. And it's this whole thing. And then every single class, you have to match a playlist to that class because the classes change.
Yeah.
And the timing intervals change and stuff like that. So I'm like, well, what if you could actually get the parts of those songs that have those beats per minute, have those drum beats, have those drops, plug and play right in the spots where you need them.
Yeah.
And it's literally minutes, not hours of work for one class.
Right.
I'm like, so if you could do something like that, I think that'd be super dope.
I bet AI could potentially do that at least down the road.
I've got this 45-minute class that we're going through, or 15-minute class now. There's Hot Works here in the Valley.
Right.
You do like 45-minute class, and then I've got 6 like drops that I need, or 6 intervals that are high intensity.
And I need it to hit this second, or whatever.
At this second of the class.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that would be cool.
Because they would be right.
And then you'd be like, use this genre.
This genre,
I needed to hit this BPM here.
Yep.
I actually was just thinking, was it today or yesterday? So I'm starting to make music again.
Bizarre.
And I'm stoked. I've been writing a lot. And mostly just my hooks and voice notes and stuff. So
okay.
But
you can sing too.
Yeah, okay. This is all I did in my 20s. Was like chasing music. So I'm good, but I haven't done it in a long time.
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Right? But I had this idea where I was just like, a lot of times I can come up with like a drum part or a bass part in my head, but then laying it down, like finding the beats and playing around with drums, I'm like, it's not sounding right. It's not sounding right. Or like figuring it out.
Really? And
I was thinking, I mean, I can eventually get it. It just takes a lot of like, work and looking through sounds or whatever. I'm like, what if I could, if there's an AI program in the music DAW where I'm just like, okay, I want the beat to go and then it's just like, okay, feed me 5 drum parts, just like you do with ChatGPT, that sound that follow this pattern.
Yeah.
And then it gives you actual drums, right? Like, dude, and I'm like, they have to be coming up with that if they don't already have it. Because like with ChatGPT, it's like, hey, give me 5 ideas that use like I use it for poetry. I'm like, I want alliteration. I want it to rhyme with tree. I need it to be about this subject. And then
and it's got to be a little bit more in depth than just like a second grader does it. Like how, if you were a master poet, how would you do that?
Right, exactly.
Then,
And you can do like in the style of.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, it could be like in the style of Travis Barker. I want this beat, but also if you could feed in audio from like what you're giving them. That would be cool.
That's the wild thing, man. And I think I was listening to somebody talk about, they're like in the tech space, and most of them are Indian, which is kind of funny. And they are, I think there are a lot of them that they're talking about, maybe it's just because it's the space that they're in. A lot of what they're talking about AI doing is moving to like the business side of things and the growth side on like, basically just the business side.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a space where the because that's creative, but like when you think creative, you think of like art.
Right.
So the arts are going to have a space where people need to really develop stuff for that. So like, hopefully someone's got or maybe us.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, some people argue like they don't want it in the arts because it's just like, dude, if they, people are buying AI art over just real humans.
But you can tell the difference in most times.
Yeah, for now. Yeah. Who knows? I mean, I have no idea where it goes.
But that doesn't take away from the creativity though, because if somebody's saying like, because I get the argument where they're saying, the quote recently is like, I want AI to do my laundry so that I can write my poetry, not write my poetry so I have more time to do my laundry.
Yeah.
Right. So like that. But if you go, if instead of it like creating the drum beats and the songs and the music, it's actually accelerating my opportunity to get from here out.
Right.
That I'm like all for, because you're not taking away my creativity. You're actually giving me an opportunity to do it faster.
Yeah, because if I have the idea in my head, it could take me a week to find the right drum sounds I want and piece them together. Right. But if I have the idea in my head and then I put it out and then it's be able to read that and then give me, okay, here's a big roomy sound, here's like more electronic beat sound, and then I'm like, okay, I want to go down that path, give me 5 more beats like that. And then when you can map them out in your music DAW, and I'm like, oh, okay, I just want to move that cymbal over there. Now I'm creating something even if I'm not a live drummer.
Right. And now you're working with that, which is what they're calling agents right now. Yeah. It's like that's an agent. That's your music assistant.
Okay.
So that's somebody that you would typically hire to help you. And now you go, now I have you. And now we get to move this along faster. Yeah. And I'm still creative. Yeah. It doesn't take away from it, which I think is the cool part.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think that's the cool part.
I think I've talked about this before, but like a lot of my musician friends have the same problem, but we got bogged down in the perfectionism and like just, we have to keep working on this song. I asked my buddy the other day, he'll post some Instagram videos of like some electronic stuff he's doing. And I'm like, hey, where can I listen to your stuff? He's like, I don't have anything out yet. And I'm like, dude, I've been seeing your clips for like 2 years. Like, what?
He hasn't put anything out.
Right. And
because he's clipping everything.
Well, but but it's just like stuff he's working on, but he hasn't like finished it.
That's so rough.
The problem that we all have. I've done it so much in my life. Right. And I was talking about the last podcast actually. So the band I'm in, my buddy Jeremy, it's the same struggles. Like he has the same set of songs he's worked on for 10 years, and he's still like, oh yeah, we're about to release them. And I was like, dude, that was last year. I was like, we're about to release them. I'm like, dude, get it out. Yeah. And so when I take this new journey, my commitment, because I'm trying to like get away from perfectionism, is just like, no, like you're gonna put in like if you start working on a song, I might try for like one release a month to start. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, you have 4 days to work on that song, and then you're just going to release it, no matter if it's done or not. Like if it's like halfway done, it's just like,
because done is better than perfect.
Right. And so because I'm like, dude, I'll just sit on it. And even my first album, I I sat on it. It was probably 7 years that it took to actually finish.
7 years?
Yeah. And then by the time it's out, you're already tired of the songs. You're already onto something new.
Well, yeah. And then also
changed. Your taste has changed.
Yeah. Well, that's also why you got to get it out, because something I've learned. Well, there's a book that a friend of mine gave to my wife a while back. It was I think it was like Puck for Perfection or something like that. It was like a play on words. Yeah. It was like, instead of fuck perfection, it was like
yeah.
So she goes, so it's basically the premise of like, I didn't actually read the book, but I understood what she was saying. She was like, all right, so done is better than perfect. But also, if you're doing it, there's like such like a limiting thing where you go, all right, if you're doing it for perfection, are you really doing it from the creative space to really get something out? Or are you doing it for the affirmation of the people you're going to give it to? And if you do it that way, you're never going to put anything out, because you're always going to be judged. And if you're always judged, then you're not going to put anything out, because your fear of being judged is higher than the creativity you put out. So it's this weird cycle that you get through. So
Gary Vee's big on like, and I knew this even going into this new, like the last 2 or 3 years chasing photo video.
But what I was saying was the part of it is like, if it's really for something to put out so people actually understand, or so people actually get entertained by it, or they get something from it, or they're like, oh, they have this experience from what you created, which we're supposed to do. If it's actually for that, then it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not, because it's actually for them. Yeah. So if it's for them, just get it out there, and then they'll tell you where you need to be better, so then you can tweak some things. Yeah. And then that's how you actually get better.
Well, and that was my idea too, with putting things out a lot. So now if I'm like putting out a lot of songs, even if they're not, like say I'm putting it on a SoundCloud or Spotify or TikTok or whatever, and then you have one of them pop a little, like, oh, I got way more views. Or like, oh, I should spend some more time. Maybe I'll do another version. Like, cause I did have some ideas. I wanted to revamp that one. So now you know where your music is resonating. Instead of, you don't have any feedback if you're just sitting on it for
You're getting live market feedback. Yeah. And then you can even ask, and you even go, look, like, how come this resonates with people? Yeah. Oh, because it feels this way. They were just talking about music without emotion. Because if you're just putting stuff out to put stuff out, there's nothing to it, because you're not actually resonating with the audience. Yeah. You're just putting it out like, and it's kind of dry. You're just putting out like in volume. But if you're getting feedback and you're like, hey, what specifically about this resonated? How did you actually go about this? And that's more of the coaching side of me. But I go, all right, so then I know, do I need to put my fingerprint on this more? Or like, do I need to actually move and pivot that way? Yeah. So it's kind of...
Yeah, I've been reading two books all about creativity. One's called Hitmakers, which is amazing. I've read it before, but I'm rereading it as part of my 10 pages a day with 75 Hard, which is great because I've been reading a lot more. So that's a cool part of it.
Try doing 10 chapters of the Bible a day.
I did that when I was a kid. No, I didn't do chapter 10.
I was going to say, there's no way.
There's no way. Reading the Bible, I mean, like, we had to read every morning, and it was like, I don't know if it was 10 minutes or 10 pages. I can't remember exactly what our rule was. Yeah. But I mean, like, a 7-year-old, and I'm like in Deuteronomy.
Oh, dude.
And I'm also still tired from the morning, so so many times I'm just like...
Yeah, no. Well, if you're trying to go to sleep, you're going to read something like Leviticus. Yeah, for sure. Numbers. You're like, the beginning when they just tally things off. You're
my God.
Yeah. Like, why am I learning this?
Yeah.
But then you realize, it's all worth it. But yeah. No, okay, so that one, what is it, Matt?
Oh, Hitmakers. So that's a great book. He delves into why things blow up, popularity, virality. He tries to look at like broad strokes of what makes things work and why they don't, etc. So it's really, really interesting. But then the other one is from what's his name? The white dude that like basically helped hip hop blow up. Rick Rubin.
No, Rick Rubin, yeah.
He has a book called The Creative Act, and dude, this guy's a G. Like, but he's not a musician, which is crazy. Like,
he's not a musician?
Doesn't play anything. And he is just like helped so many albums, like, and so
is it because he like unlocks those people?
He's able, he has like a very like the spirit that helps them. He helps them get into modes, you know, if people are blocked, he works through practices to get them unblocked. But he talks about all of these, he's very like almost like Zen Buddhist, like in the way he talks. He's just like, everything is creation. You have to take the time to look at this branch, you know, like, and his voice is very soothing.
I mean,
and
he's not wrong.
It's a beautiful book, but he talks about just, you know, letting go of, you know, the perfection. He's like, talks about the different sections of process. So he's like, when you're just ideas, he's like, you don't rule anything out. He's like, a lot of times you put these guide rails, like, oh, I want to make a hip hop song. He's like, if you really want the creativity to flow, he's like, you let it go wherever it's got to go. And he's like, because you could be limiting something and he also talks about is like, if you deny an idea, or if you're given an idea, because he talks about in a way God, or he talks source, and he's just like, creativity is not from us. It's like we are this canvas is that we and it comes from like source. And so then that idea comes in. He's like, if you don't use that idea, he's like, have you ever had an idea and you sat on it and then all of a sudden somebody else made it? You're like, I had that idea. It's because you sat on it, so it was given to somebody else. Yeah. And I was like, dude, that's wild. Yeah. But it's a really good book. I'm only a quarter of the way through. But.
Yeah, I've got a few of those where I've been given some ideas. God really felt like I had some quiet time, and I was like, oh, these are definitely mine. And then I'm seeing some versions of those pop up. I'm like, time's ticking. Because our pastor Jurgen said when he came to San Diego, he was like, he wasn't the first person God asked to go to San Diego to do what he's doing now, but he's like, I'm praying I'm the last one to put my hand up, like that kind of thing. Because if you don't, it's going to move on. Because I don't know if he says this, but basically, like, my thought process is, it's got to get here somehow, and it's just a matter of somebody being willing to do it and run through that. Because if you're not, someone else might. Yeah, it's and that's like definitely humbling, because you're like, oh, this isn't actually like, it's not from me, it's not my idea, so I might as well run through it. If I've been given it, I probably will get the tools, the people, the scenario, the timing perfectly to like execute it. Yeah. Because then if you look at other people who have done it, you're like, you're not different than me. Right. I could have done that. And yeah.
Well, and it's all
so interesting.
It's definitely about, somewhat about action. I told you actually when we met, it was funny. I was thinking earlier, I was like, this is probably going to be one of the most wholesome podcasts I've had.
Yeah, I've cussed once, and it was to reference a book.
Yeah.
Wait, you have to appreciate that you're meeting me now and not meeting me at this point 12 years ago. Yeah, 100%.
Dude, 12 years ago we would have been switched.
Yeah, that's right. You would have been wearing like a tracksuit. You would have been like making some signs and signals. Falling asleep to the Bible.
Right. But so when I first met you, I was talking about doing mushrooms and seeing God. I was like, oh, I've seen God. Like, wait, what? Yeah. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't be talking about this in church.
Oh, you did. Yeah. We were in the lobby, and you were like, last time I did psilocybin or whatever. I'm like,
I was like, I met God.
So wait, what?
But so speaking of just that, like that feeling of like, oh, I'm called to do this, or the idea has been given to me, and then if you don't act, I've had an experience where I was like, definitely felt called. I was like, you are meant for this thing, but I wasn't given what thing. But it's just like, keep working. And I was just like, fuck. And then I feel like I'll get really in this belief, like that brought out a lot of spirituality in me, after that time. And then sometimes I'm like, was I just like fucked up and I didn't, like, and so, and I've talked to other people who have been on like psychedelic journeys, and they'll be like, oh yeah, everybody gets that. But I'm of the belief now that like people are given a specific purpose in life or mission or, an idea or whatever. And I'm kind of under that impression where, if you ignore it and just be like, oh, that was just that was a silly mushroom journey or whatever. It's whatever. I'm going to be more realistic. Then of course it's going to be given to someone else. And then they're like, okay, well then you don't want it.
Well, because it's a faith thing and belief thing.
It's
not, and if it is coming from God, it's like, well, not if, because it's coming from God, he's like, I have something for you. And that's basically you're rejecting the very creator of giving, like who wants to do these things through you. So how cool is that? And you go, I know better. I'm actually gonna do something different. Like, okay, all right.
And like for me, I believe that I have a specific purpose. But it also takes that like because I'm not super spiritual, but I like have leaned into this more. But I'm like, I don't know all the ins and outs of how I get there, but I know I have to stay the course. And like it's like hindsight, you won't know till later. You're like, oh, all these things came like so. When there's like a really hardship, you're like, fuck, why am I going through this? Why is this the thing? But when you come out the other side, you're like, oh, that helped me get here. And if I didn't have that, then I wouldn't be, you know.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's it is not a. There are certain things that are put in front of you to make you more resistant. I mean, anything like 75 hard is going to make you better on the other side of it. Yeah. There's some of that. Then there's also things that weren't planned, but you going through them allowed you to get where you needed to go. So it's like, I think there's a both and both scenario, but yeah, you can't. Both and. You have to. Well, because if it's an or, then you get caught up in religiosity. Yeah. But if it's an and both, you go, okay, well, some of these things, because I'm actually meant to go through some things that are scripted for me to build me. Right. Because I have the parents I have. I was born in the time and the place I am. That stuff is like kind of ordained. And then the other stuff is like, didn't think my friend was going to have to go through, cancer and then die. Sure. But he did. And so, that, or my friends miscarried, right? Yeah. Because of the track I was on, was it ordained for us to become friends and then we walk through this with you? Yeah. I mean, maybe not, but the track allowed me to find some, because life has hard stuff. So then I'm going to go through it. So both of those, I think it's a both and scenario. Yeah.
One of my favorite ideas is I got a tattoo. Both
and both. I was looking at that while you're doing it. I was like, ampersand, both?
Yeah, both and.
Music, both? I was like, is that a band? And no, it's just that simple. And both and. So,
it came from
Did you just get that?
A year ago or something.
Yeah, because that one, it's fresh.
But I had my newest one is this one.
I didn't. Okay, you started moving your leg. That's not
Mr. Meeseeks. Nice. Rick and Morty.
I haven't watched it before. Dude. No, but you moving your leg. That's not where I thought you were going to show me. I was like, bro, I know what podcast we're on, and this is not what I thought was going to happen here. That's funny. Because my buddy got.
Wait till the very end. Pull out all the stops.
My buddy got Wes Showalter. I'm probably gonna have to send this podcast. He'll love this podcast. He would have when I knew him back in the day, because it's been 9 years since I've talked to him. I think he had a gummy bear tattooed on his butt, and think he had Biggie Smalls. No, I think he had Biggie Smalls on his thigh, but he was a dude who just had the most random tattoos. Yeah, like he had a white tiger and a regular tiger, like a Bengal tiger, on his chest. But he's like head to toe, right, or neck to toe, and but I just remember that he pulls it down and he's got a freaking gummy bear on his ass, and I was like, why? He goes,
I wanted it.
Yeah. Oh no, a bunch of his friends got it.
That's funny. Yeah, I gotta pee again.
You have the bladder of a 65-year-old.
Dude, have you tried drinking a gallon a day?
No, I haven't, because I know it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But I don't like the normal podcast. Oh, you don't? I feel I was actually talking to my therapist today about it. There's something about I like the ability to move. First off, I like just the sit over here, chill like this.
Because with that mic, you have to be
you're just stuck. And then I also there's something about when you see the clips and there's like half their face gone. I don't love that. Yeah. Right now it's from the side, but it'll eventually be like right forward. So I like that just clear view.
Your freedom.
And then she was talking about, she's like, you notice I don't have a table like directly in front of us. It's like off to the side. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I don't like the idea of like sitting across the table from somebody. She's like, there's more energy flow. And I was like, without knowing that, I feel kind of, that's what I gravitated towards.
Yeah.
And some of the podcasters, like Joe Rogan, uses a table. It's fine, but it's just I didn't want that.
Well, yeah, because you got to make it your own. If you're gonna try to, that's the thing about the creativity. It's like it's an idea, but I'm not gonna make it exactly like somebody else because they're successful. Yeah. Because that would be weird. That would be just copying and not influence. Yeah. Which I have a lot of people who copy and aren't influenced.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody just recently. They were complaining about somebody copying their art, and I was like, well, at least you should take it as a compliment that they think your shit's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. What do they say? Imitation is the best
form of flattery. Yeah.
But it's like, but imitation, or is it like word for word?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's very different.
I've definitely taken ideas and then I'm like, I'm going to put my own spin on this. Like, you can't. I just don't. I wouldn't want to put something out and then somebody's like, dude, you just ripped that. Like,
you just silly. It's the same exact thing. You just plug and play. Nah. Yeah. No, you're definitely making it your own, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to. I'm excited to like help other people do podcasts, because when I have done all this, there's just nobody that like I think eventually I might want to like run like an online course on how to build your own. Yeah. Because I don't think it's out there. Like there's a lot of online
podcasts.
Yeah. Or I could do an actual just like video like help, or I thought about even doing like an offer where I fly out to you and do everything. I mean, it'd be expensive as fuck, but then I, like the right person.
You would niche it out the same way I think you were niching out some of like the videography stuff. You like niche out to people who are, what is it? Like Ed Milet back in the day talks about, I just listened to his.
Niches get riches.
Yeah.
That's what Hormozy says.
Yeah. So, he was already like a very successful business coach, super tight with Tony Robbins. And he goes, I literally didn't even know how to start. So I like was piecing it all together. And he was telling like all his horror stories of how he started. And now he's the #1 business podcast right now.
No way.
And so, it's like #1 on Spotify. And like he says it's the fastest growing podcast in the world right now, which I haven't verified, but he said it. And I'm like, you're super successful. Cool.
Right.
So what I was saying with that is if you niche it out, you don't seek out the smaller, the people who are just upstarting. Yeah. You seek out the people who like have a great track record, have all this success, but for some reason they haven't put themselves out there or to share. They've got the means.
Who's the guy who runs the men's group? Forgetting his name. We talked to him last time. From the church, him and his wife, they used to be Amway.
Greg and Jackie Francis.
Yeah. So actually, he texted me the other day, and he's doing a online training.
You getting a man maker?
Well, I asked him. I was like, I'd love the information, and then he's like, hey, well, I'll sign you up for. He's doing something in February, seminar to.
February 2nd.
Yeah. Which that'll be Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah.
So, but he's like, if you sign up, even if you can't make the second, you'll get the rerun. And then you can see what it is. Yeah. So I'm very interested. Really that's what you're saying. And I texted him. I was like,
he did text me. He goes, can you make sure Josh gets in this? I was like, funny. I'm going to be on his podcast.
Yeah, that is funny. When I actually offered, I told him I would help him run I'd do a podcast for him, just pro bono, just because like I found a lot of value just from his content, his talk in Utah, and then him and his wife both met, and we just chatted a bit, but I wasn't able to do the coaching because of the money thing back. But he said he was just like, one of the things that we teach is he's like, you get one big fish that will like sustain you. Wow. And then like once you have that, like all that stress from all the money goes away. Now you're able to create. Now you're able to think and you're not just surviving. And I was like, because I'm living in this survival stress mode. And so I'm finally kind of out of that with going back to the bar a little bit. And so it has been helpful. I'm noticing my creativity like start shooting through the roof and ideas and work and whatever. Yeah. But
trying to build a freaking empire on sand. You're like, why does it keep moving? Oh, the tide.
Right. So it is nice to think about, like, I'm not only am I doing what I love with this podcast, but eventually I will be able to help other people. And like, that's that would be the goal, going after more people that like have a successful business that for some reason they haven't started utilizing the podcast space to whatever. And a lot of people just shy away from it because they don't want to, either they don't like to talk on camera or they just have no idea how to do the video, camera, audio, stuff.
It's probably both. I think about a lot of people who go, okay, we can do a lot of this, but for some reason, as soon as that pops up, they freeze and something changes. And so it honestly, if you figure out how to communicate it in a way that shows them it's the exact same way that they've been successful in this space, but they can alleviate some of that, that's probably the bigger spot. Because I think about guys that like, well, if your skill set goes, so see if I can wrap my head around this whole thought process that's going on in my mind. Okay, so your skill set is understanding like nuance. So you're like, all right, I get that the table scenario probably isn't going to be for me. I understand that there's got to be a specific flow. This is how I really like to do this. We're just chopping it up, that kind of stuff, right? If you can figure out and have these conversations and understand how to communicate to these high rollers, these whales, that, what is it? There's a book called like Whales or like Moby Dick, and it's based that premise, right? And you can be like, look, I'm going to come in and I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to communicate through camera without being uncomfortable or fitting you in a box.
Right.
Because like a Greg Francis is epic in the scenario that he's in, right? But that took time.
Yeah. Right.
And he even talks about it. He talks about like the 20 years it took, like through his marriage, like they've got 6 beautiful kids now, like all that, right? He's an incredible leader. So if you're going to put him in a podcast, it's probably going to look a lot different than this. But if you can communicate that, like, hey, we're going to white label this and we're going to put you on this blank canvas and it's going to turn into this epic communication thing, that might work. Because then you're totally niching that. You're like, hey, you guys are all these uber successful people, but you don't need for it to look like these are the 3 premises that I'm going to go through so that you actually shine.
Right.
And then you won't even recognize that there's a camera after a certain point because now you're in your flow state.
Right.
Like,
I
don't think anybody's doing it.
Right. And then the other thing is,
although I'm not a high roller, so yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, I don't know a ton of high rollers, but I know of a few, and I had already had some targets and be like, dude, they don't have a podcast at all. And like Gary Vee is probably the one who first or has said it. It's like, if you are not utilizing a podcast and you have a business, like you are missing out.
Yeah.
And especially when it's somebody who is in a leadership role, who like, say you have a coaching program or some sort of leadership, mentorship, whatever, they have all this valuable information and only they can deliver it in the style they do, right? Like the information's out there, but like it clicks with people from individual voices because of them, right? Mm-hmm. And if the only way to have access to that is to know that person one-on-one, it's like, think of how many more people you can reach if you put it out there. Yeah. But they
or even if they don't want to, like a lot of people don't think they want to for whatever reason, whatever wall they have up. But a lot of those guys that I've talked to are actually really generous. They just don't know how to be more generous. They just don't have a space. They just don't have an understanding of how to be more generous. Yeah. And like you said, maybe they don't even know how to turn a camera on or edit or whatever.
Right, yeah.
You're like, cool. You're probably really generous and want to reach more people, because I don't know many successful people that don't.
Sure.
You know that your net worth is going to go up based on who you connect with. So let's figure out how to connect with you virtually.
Well, and that's the thing that's where I feel like at some point I can come into play, because I'm like, so you don't have to do all that. Like, I will take care of all of this. I will create the comfortable space. I will do all the video, audio, everything's taken care of. You just have the same conversations you were going to have anyway, but now we'll record it and we can put that out wherever you want it, whether it's website, socials,
I think that's onto something. It's definitely...
And I feel like as I grow, that's when I get the cred. Because like right now, like I haven't hit 50 yet. So once I'm at 100 and my YouTube's grown, it's like, okay, now I have the social proofing and I've had this person on the pod and this. And then you can see the quality of the work. You can see the longevity of the work, and you can see the growth.
That was going to say,
And that's the thing. That's the part that I think that I still want before I really start marketing. Because like they're like, okay, I can see you can make a good looking thing, but can you help me grow it? You know, and so
because there's oh my gosh, the satire video from There's an Instagram account. I forget what it's called. Dang it. I wanted to give him credit because it's so funny. But it was basically like, it was this guy who was like, I'm really good at building courses. I'm teaching people how to build courses. and I was super broke before I taught people how to build courses because I built this one course on how to teach people how to build courses. Yeah. And it was like, this dude was, I'm still living out of my car, but I can build these courses for you. And now it's like the snake oil.
Yeah. There's so much of it too. Oh my God. I think I saw one too today because it was just like, I'll teach you how to make $20,000 a month.
Yeah.
And it's by teaching other people how to make $20,000 a month, you know. Yeah.
And I'm like, no. So I've definitely, that's why I haven't gotten into really, that's why I haven't really expanded on training trainers or coaching coaches.
Right.
Because there's some of that. I'm like, I think there's got to be a level of traction, success, and longevity. Like, I think that's why we get along, is because you go, before I can even prove my systems across the board.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've been in this game for 12 years, something like that.
I wish I could show those people. Dude, he's so cute.
Is he purring or snoring?
I think he's snoring.
That was me earlier in my massage. And I went, okay, we're good. No, there's got to be like traction. And if I'm like, all right, cool, I could actually make you believe to a certain point that you're going to be able to do $20K a month.
Right.
But like, I just don't feel right about, because I haven't done. Yeah. I mean, I've done $20,000 a month, but have I done it for 5 straight years?
Yeah.
Have we multiplied, and maybe at month 8, you're like coming along? No. Right. So if that hasn't happened, then I'm making $20K off of all these people who are still trying to make $20K.
Right, right.
That's such a weird dynamic that Instagram and social media has
done. And I mean, like, I've seen a couple people that, like, I'll see, there's certain people that just ooze unbelievability. I'm like, I just don't believe you. You know, like, whether it might just be youth, you know, and it's not to say no young kid can learn, you know, can't teach you, but there's just certain ones. And then there's other people that's like Hermosi, dude, it's just instantly I trust him.
Really?
And I just always got it. And I'm just like, I know that this guy has his receipts.
Yeah.
I know that he, like, and one of his philosophies was like, I give all of this away for free. He's like the selfish part of that is I want you to succeed in your business so that you grow your business to 10 million. So then I can come and help you for money.
Yeah.
But if you don't,
because he only wants to work with those people.
Right.
He's trying to create so many more of those people.
Yeah.
In order to,
and he'll just say that too, you know, but he's just like, all of his books were given out for, like, the books that he wrote were given initially for free.
Yep.
And he just like puts all his like proof, like he just proves everything along the way.
Yeah.
But he's just like, I've been giving all these videos and informational. It's Gary Vee, the same thing. Yeah, let me give it for free. He's like, I don't care about making money off these little guys. Like, I'm over here, you know. So when it is somebody who's like really into just making money off like a little guy, I'm like, that's when it's a little more of a less trust there, I guess.
It's it's if you hop up on it was something I fell into a trap with a long time ago. Was like, I have a little bit of traction, understanding, and wisdom, or like experience, I'm immediately going to make more money.
Yeah.
Like, that's an immature thing to just immediately, because I'm a little bit more successful, then I'm going to make all this. It's like, no, it's got to be flipped. How much can you give? Like, really, can you give?
Yeah.
And then it'll start to create traction, because then it's more of a resiliency and longevity, because it's like, how long, you know, it takes you 10 years to be an overnight success.
Right.
So that's probably why you trust him off the bat. I've learned to be a little bit more skeptical and start to piece apart some of this stuff based on values.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and you also have to be like, oh, he's an incredible marketer because he really knows how to communicate on a camera.
Right.
And he knows exactly what to say, know how to be transparent, what to do. And I'm like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Well, and like a guy like him, you know, I have learned so much from Alex Hormozi, and I don't think I've paid him any money. at this point. Like I was like, so like I don't have any problem learning from, it's like I might have bought one book, but I think it was it's probably only the book, but everything else has just been these YouTube podcasts.
And I got gifted his last one, and then the first one I bought, and I actually ran through all of his modules. Yeah. And like spent the time. So you're like, you got to believe in the guy, because you're like, and it has helped shape a lot of how I've gone about, some of my training. So I'm like, for sure there's validity in that, because he's helped me make more money. He's helped me impact more people. Yeah. So then you go, it's working because we're saying his name, and at some point it's going to be,
But you are right. I mean, like I have this, I definitely told myself, I was like, no matter what you do, always give more, like always exceed expectation. Yeah. So if I say I'm going to deliver 10 photos, I'm giving you 15. Like, I do like his philosophy on the price point. I'm still struggling with it, but he's like, I either charge full price or I give it for free. He's like, I never discount my rate. And I know that's one philosophy, and then other people have like, oh no, you should be able to barter your, depending on do you want the project or not. And so I've kind of gone back and forth on that, but I like,
so interesting.
I like how he does it. It's just like, it's like, I will give you more for that price, but he's like, if I discount my rate, then that shows you that rate was arbitrary, and then I can change it at any time based on, I don't think he's going to pay it, so I'm going to discount it, but then I'm going to overcharge you because I think you can pay it. Like that. He's
I mean, that's also the thing with like, I don't know if it's the same thing, but it makes me think of, if you're a real friend, you don't ask for a discount. You pay full price.
That's so frustrating.
I was like, bro, that's the most real thing ever. And I was also, what do they say? I'm also guilty of that at some point. But since actually, I think he's the first one of the first people I had heard it and it resonated. I was like,
instead of being like, hey, do I get the friend discount? Be like, hey, I want to pay you full price.
How much full price for this?
Because I want to support you.
Can I get 2 of them? Right? Yeah. Or how do I, that kind of stuff. And
so, like, because you're a friend, I want to support you, not because I'm your friend, you give me free shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that changes the whole dynamic, because then there's a trust built. And there's also a familiarity thing, because just because we have this all the time in our community, we like have, incredible people that come through, they're talked highly about. And then as soon as you get close to them, you're like, familiarity breeds contempt, or you lose a little bit of honoring that person. And you're like, oh, so you'll help me out a little bit more. And you're like, any opportunity I have now, if I literally can't afford what they're offering, I'm like, well, who can I connect you to so that I can actually like help you? Or can I be a referral?
I like that. That's good.
And I don't ask for like a referral fee unless it's actually like a business connection. Yeah. If it's like, I know specifically you're asking this, here's this gap, here's this person who does this very specific thing, you guys are looking for this. Yeah. Here's my like finder's fee if this turns into something.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm just like, hey, you kind of like have to start a conversation. You're looking for this kind of thing. Yeah. Like, hey, go start this conversation. Here's a good connection for you. You guys go have fun. Yeah. That's the only time but I think that's a great way to go about it. But,
I haven't really dealt with any of those situations so far where I think that if I connect with somebody else and they are successful, I mean, I guess I could charge a finder's fee, but at the same time, I'm just like, dude, I just want you guys to know each other. Like, whatever happens, like, I feel good about people winning. And
also, the reciprocity of that is you're helping them win. You cover a gap, so you're a solid friend and a good human being, because now you're not like waiting for anything.
And that shit will always come around.
And it comes around because you've just really, rising tide lifts all ships. Yeah. So now all the tide is lifting up, so you guys are all going to win. Yeah. So.
And that's how I felt about, like, I mean, I know a lot of friends that are chasing a certain dream, whether it's a music dream or whatever. Yeah. And I do think that the people that I have surrounded myself with, if they make it first, they'll be like, hey man, let me help you up, and that's how I feel. I'm like, if my podcast makes it first, like, and I'm big, I'm getting my buddy Joe on to talk about your new album. 100%, I'm getting my sister, whoever it is. So, and I feel like the people that I know are those kind of people.
You know what's interesting about that is we actually don't have the control. So like, people are going to make it big and do this and that. And then you basically have to do it with the understanding that some of those people are never going to give it back.
Right.
As we think about it, I'm like, there's definitely going to be people who like totally forget where the connection came from.
Yeah.
And like, how many times you're like, where did you come from? Who's you? Oh, it was that person. Oh, I don't even talk to that person anymore. But there's some of that where you just have to be a good human being and just be like, I'm going to connect you guys because you asked and because I just so happen to have this connection.
Right.
I'm like, a friend of mine, Daniel's like that. He's like one of the greatest connectors. And he just so happens to know all the right people.
Right.
And it is the coolest thing. So I like try to emulate it. I'm like, all right, I got to look out for this stuff because I know if you can do it, I can do it. So that kind of thing.
Have you ever read The Go Giver?
Yeah.
So
that's actually Daniel's like favorite book to give away.
That's funny. Yeah. So my buddy gave me that. I resonate with the connector a lot. I'm like, that's who I want to be. And I'm like, so how do I become this person?
Right.
And where I'm just like, yeah, like let me introduce you to him and like being that glue. It's that gives me a lot of purpose. Going back to, like I would feel fulfilled with just knowing that I helped get this person to that person. And I like, also goes back to, well, like in creative spots, like people get frustrated when their idea was stolen. And so instead of spending all the energy trying to chase down like, hey, I need credit, I'm going to sue you for that, whatever. Instead, if you just put that energy into making a new idea because you're an idea guy, it doesn't matter. You can make, and then Hormozy also talks about it, is like, doesn't matter if anybody takes my ideas because they're not going to see that to fruition before I am because I work way harder. So like, there's no chance they're even like, take my ideas. I'm going to beat you at it.
I'm going to beat you anyway because I'm exponentially better. It's a Kobe Bryant thing where he's like, if you work out at 4 a.m. and then 8 a.m. and then 12 a.m. and 12 p.m., take a break, get back at 4, and then you've got another lift at 8, and you're up at 4, you've already 5x'd what somebody's going to do, and then you multiply that every day for 4 years. Yeah, I'm guaranteed to be in NBA ready when you're still in junior high, right? And we're the same age, so it's like this But the coming back to the price thing is very interesting because value stacking is a real thing. Like if there's practices out there that like. Well, it's the ClickFunnels thing. You like put this whole value, or Mosey does it too. Like you do this whole value proposition, and then you add up all of the value proposition, and then you go, okay, but it's this number, and this number is never discounted. But it's like all of these things are valued at, so that's why you're already discounting it, but it's already at the ceiling. Yeah. So you see it all the time where it's like $47. It's like slash $27. Right. You're like. You're never actually selling it for $47. Right. You're just creating a psychological effect for people, like sales and marketing. Everyone does it, and it's just a thing that gets us over the board. And some people think it's like a tactic or super snake oils, and you're like, no, it's because you legitimately need to see that it was discounted, but it never is discounted. Yeah. That's the actual price. Yeah. You just see how it is.
I feel like there's people that do it really well and people do it poorly because I've seen the people that are like, all of these packages is a total value of $3,000 and it's only $12. And I'm like, dude, who valued this? Like, it'll be like some 5-minute video. And it's like this 5-minute video, we're going to include this. This was a $197 value. I'm like, you just put that number on there? Like, what? Like, that doesn't make sense.
That's what I'm talking about. You're like, all right, well, that's the psychology behind the selling. But, and I'm not about, I actually don't, in the personal training space, I'm like, you can't discount things, man. Because for the people who don't have our value system, they're like, oh, I can get it at a discount. Yeah. I can get you, your time, your energy, your expertise at a discount. Yeah. Cool. Then why would I ever pay full price when it comes back around? Right. And it doesn't. So it's this weird thing. You just have to, but you got to stay in it long enough because you're going to keep getting those people who are like, I'm going to wait till it gets on discount. Right. Or I'm not going to re-up because it's more expensive now. Yeah. Dude, it's such a wild game.
Yeah. I'm not very good at sales, but I very much dislike all the little like hoops and like the tactics that are used. And like when we were doing the cold calling, it's just like, oh, if you buy today, you get it at this price. But if we hang up and you don't buy, if you call me back, it's going to be this price. Yeah. Well, of course, if they ever called back, we would still give it that price. So, but like some sales guys would hold to it. Like, nope, I told you. And so it's full price now. Yeah. But
But that's the more honorable way to do it. Yeah. Like you have to do that, regardless if you're going to lose the sale, because it's more about integrity than anything else.
Yeah, see, I agree.
100%. But it's hard to do in the moment. But it's one thing to know you're walking away from money. Mm-hmm. Like you're literally walking away from an opportunity to close, to move your numbers.
Well, that's where I'm still kind of like, I guess, on the fence or finding my footing, because the guy I work with that does video in Hollywood, Michael, he had this potential client, and so I had he helped me figure out my day rate, my gear rental, stuff like that. He's like, okay, so when you put out a quote, you just, instead of being a full price, you do like days. So I was like, okay, it's 2 days of filming plus the rental, 4 days of editing. If it ends up being less editing, then it's going to be cheaper for them. But like if it's going to be more editing, then you're going to tack on another day. So that way you're paid by the day. So, and I like that. But so then I had my day rate, my rental, and so he brought this price to this guy, and he's just like, oh, that's way over like what I thought I could do. And then he's like, so then he came to me, he's like, well, would you do it for like discounting your gear rental? And so then I had this conversation over Christmas, and then I'd seen the Hermosi clip, and I was like, fuck. And he's like, what about spreading out payments on this other side, on the editing? So it's $200 a month.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, that kind of thing I could get into, but it still needs to be the full price. And I'm like, and he's like, when I was like, dude, if I keep discounting myself, like I'm feeling bad about that. He's like, yeah, but it's more money than nothing. And I was like, I feel like that gets me into trouble.
100%, because you're not thinking through value. You're thinking through immediate gratification. Like that's immediate gratification. And that's just edifying. Oh, I have something.
Right.
Like, no.
And that's the shit that I would do, especially when I'm coming out of desperation.
Yeah.
Which is where like,
that's where the discounts come from.
Yeah. And where, like Greg was saying, it's just like, once you have your needs met, then you don't have to do that shit anymore. Like, oh, I really need this job, so I'll do anything to discount it just to get it.
Dude, what's funny is I was like, on the way here, I went to go buy something, this hat. I went to go buy this hat, in my head. So on this is so funny because I was like, very words person, right? So how you say something, the English language.
Did you say very words person?
I'm a very word. I'm 2 beers in, and this contains lactose. This isn't even. I don't even know what the percentage is in here.
What's it say?
Oh, 5.8. Oh, it's not bad. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah. Anyway,
sorry.
So I'm a very words person. So how you say something dictates, like how you perceive life, how you perceive life, right? So I was like buying this, and I went, oh, I need to go get a hat. And I've been on this whole journey, same thing with not scarcity, thinking like value. I've got to increase certain things, right? And so I'm like, I don't need to go get this hat. And it sometimes it's like that. It's that. Yeah. It's just like that. I go, I have to stop saying I need something, because I actually have all my needs met.
Right.
Everything's taken care of. I'm like, I'm driving a car, I got clothes on me, I'm fed, I just got a massage. Like, I'm living a good life, right? I do not need anything today. So instead, I feel like going to get a hat.
Yeah.
I feel like going to buy something, right? And so the idea that comes out of our mind of like, oh, I need to get this money, or I need to get this client. It's like, no, you need to hold your value system. You need to make sure you are giving exactly what you said you were going to give, like all that. So instead of, oh, I need to get this to affirm that I am providing some kind of value. No, I don't need it. I literally don't need you. I live in America. I'm going to eat somehow. Right. If you don't pay me, I'll find someone else who's 3 million people in this community.
Have you read the Gap and the Gain?
Yeah.
He talks about getting rid of need and saying want.
Want.
It's just
because then you're deciding. You're like, oh, I actually want.
I would want that client, but I don't need it. So if they're going to, then you're not doing business with people that berate you, or it's a pain in the ass or whatever, and then also the people that penny pinch the whole way through. Like, no, I don't need you. Like this.
No, I'll find somebody else. This is actually, I'm actually creating space for somebody else who's better to come through. Yeah. You can go find somebody else you can work with. Yeah, 100%.
I'm trying to learn because I get a lot of like friends that have me up like, oh, what would it be in it? And I'm getting this point where I'm like, I am definitely too expensive for the average person who's just looking for a little this or that, in the general sense. So I've been trying to always have an option for them, be like, this is my rate. And then if they're like, oh, I'm like, I have a few other guys I can turn you to that I know are like a lot cheaper, or like if somebody, like there's this one friend who I know he wants me to do, like help him do a lot of TikTok videos and stuff. I'm like, it's going to be too expensive for what they're doing. So I'm just going to be like, I'm going to show you how to do your own TikTok videos, and I'll just give that to you for free. You guys go have fun.
Yeah, go do it.
And I think I'd rather, going back to like, I don't feel like I have the longevity proof on the podcasting.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like for the time being, I would rather just make connections with people and like help them film their first podcast for free. Be like, look, this is something down the road, but like I can get you started. I can show you all the gear to get. I can kind of point. I'm like, I'm happy to come in and film one for you, just for you, so to get you going. But I'm not the I'm not going to try to sell you on like getting you this some sort of package, because I'm not there.
No, what is that? Midwest, they go, no, yeah, no. Yeah, no, yeah.
Australians do that too.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's, 100% is, no, yeah. So which one is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. No, yeah, no is no. And no, yeah.
It's whatever you end on.
Yeah. So you could even do a starter pack like that.
Yeah, probably.
Like that, and that even gets you out. Email list, connections. Hey, here's my starter pack. I'm further down the road than you are.
Yeah.
I haven't made it, but I'm further down the road, and you're coming to me because you think I'm doing something that you want to be able to do. Here's how you start.
Yeah. I like that. I also think that when you offer, it's kind of like strategically giving people the right, taking your product. If I want to go get business from a big business, for example, I kind of want to work with this guy who runs Barbacoa, and I've been at bars with him. He's really funny and hilarious. And so I kind of, next time I want to see him, I'm going to pitch him an idea for like a promo video for Barbacoa.
Okay.
But I'm like, yeah, free of charge. Just because I think I want to do it. It's fun. But in my head, I'm like, I would like to work with him in the future on bigger projects. So I'm just going to give him something for free, and then he'll have that. 100%. And now the next time they need somebody, I'll be on top of mind.
That's a lot different than discounting yourself the way a lot of people do. Because a lot of people go, okay, so I'm going to give this to you here because I think you're going to recognize the value. You're not. You're only going to recognize what you paid for.
Right.
So if you paid nothing to get with,
no, that's me.
Was that you? Yeah. When they paid nothing to get what you're going to give them, like this Sturman's video, dude.
Yeah.
That was epic.
Yeah,
that was epic. I watched that 3 or 4 times. I've shared it with like a dozen people. I was like, this is where we went. And this is my guy who like did this video. This was awesome. So he doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
Right. But he gets something that's worth $25K.
Right.
So the next time around, maybe it's not $25K. It's the Hormozy, like, this is how much it's valued.
Right.
My time, energy, focus, expertise, execution, and care for you is 15.
Yeah.
Let's run it.
But that immediately did get, now I've had 2 jobs from that since then.
That's so much different than us discounting, because if I were to go, I normally charge this, but I'm going to give it to you for this margin. People, and I think it is the all or nothing thing. People actually are going to look at what they paid rather than what it actually is valued at if it's discounted.
Right.
But if it's not discounted and it's 0, I'm going to give you all this free stuff, or it's I paid a whole lot of it, but then I got so much more than I paid for. Well, both. It's both scenarios.
Right.
Right. But it's weird because if you sit in the middle, it's this weird thing where you're like, I got this at a discount. This is how much it's actually worth.
Right.
It's this weird scenario.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm leaning. Was just like, that's where I have to be. And so it's like, it's either free, give somebody whatever, and that's how I felt too. It's just like, if somebody was a little interested in the podcast, like, let me just run one for you, like just free of charge. You can even see if you like doing the podcast. Maybe you don't want to do it, so like then you give it a try. Yeah. And then I do it. So then they really like it. They see the value. They're like, okay, so will you put together a package? Absolutely. Yeah. Here's what it'll cost in the future. And then just confidently go, this is what it is. Yeah. And then you just. That is what it is. Yeah. The amount of times I actually just sat down with somebody, or no, I didn't.
somebody I know just did it. They were like, oh, it's this much, that much, this much. And they had no idea on any of the person's financial situation. They were just like confidently, not even, it was almost, I had to applaud this person because it was so second nature to do this. And this was a pro move. This was a confident, I'm secure move. And it was, oh yeah, so it's, you know, it's this price for this much and I'm going to do it this many times. Yeah. And they're like, and the person goes, how much would it be if you 3x that? And she's like, oh, it's this much. Yeah. The person goes, well, I'm a woman of means. So if that's what it's going to take, let's just do it. Yeah. And she's like, it basically quadrupled her income. No way. And it was just that. It was, this is how much this is. Yeah. I don't care. I just want to let you know truthfully, that's what I actually think. Yeah.
And it's so crazy because there's so many businesses where that's the case, you know, like, and we were talking about, I was just at a swap meet in Vegas, it was like Mexican swap meet, you know, and
it's racist. It's really racist.
Dude, you should have seen this shit I was saying.
Wait, it's probably a Peruvian, like.
There is all South American different vendors. And actually, there's some like food wise, there was some Asian food and stuff. But
well, why was it a Mexican swap?
Because it's all Mexicans.
Okay, yeah, got it. Yeah, that's what I was like. It's probably Peruvian, but you didn't know better.
So my Mexican buddy Severo, and then my Filipino buddy Fam. But I think that Fam and I were the only non-Mexicans there.
Really?
Just like,
yeah, but Fam probably looks Mexican. So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we're he's like, yeah, it's like bartering just like in Mexico, and but then we like we didn't barter on like some candy. She's like, oh, $3 minimum on the gummy bears, and I was like, hey, why don't you barter on that? Like, how do we know when we're bartering?
Oh, wait, do I not hear? And she's super offended. You're trying to barter. She's like, no, this is what it is.
Like, I give you $150. $150. But so I understand like in certain settings, yeah, that's what you do. But in general, it's just like, yeah, why? Like there is a couple industries like a used car where it's like bartering. But in general, most products are, it is what it is. You go to Walmart. And that's the chair is $24. I'm like, imagine going to the checkout line, like, I have $19 here. It's like, what?
And then that cashier is no longer working there. Right. And that was their last day. Yeah. He was like, he only had $19. I don't know.
And so I think, yeah, like you said, it's like if you just, this is the cost of the service. Here, this is what it is. And then they're like, oh, well, could you do it for this? No, I can't. If you want a smaller package, we can look into doing less work. Yeah. For, you know, because you're asking for this and this and this.
But that's a negotiation. Yeah. So that's like everything's negotiable, but you have your framework of what you're willing to move on. So yeah, you can, but those are actually, you don't know I have these 3 tiers, or maybe you do know I have these 3 tiers, and now we're negotiating which tier is going to be best for you.
Sure, but the tier prices stay the same. Yeah.
Hey, look, or if I'm going to add X, Y, or Z, it's actually going to be this price, which is a new price, but I'm cool with that value because that's actually not a discount for me. Right. You know what I mean? So I think what you're saying is there is still a barter system. What is it? Everything's negotiable. There's an FBI negotiator that wrote a book. He's basically like, everything is negotiable. Yeah. But those negotiations are based on precepts and what they want to happen. Sure. So if those don't happen, then the negotiation falls through. Yeah. So it's not like it's a discount. It's more like I know what I'm willing to move on, but I'm not going to discount them. I just know where my tiers and mountains are.
Yeah. I like that because then, like, if I set a price on a project, I'm like, it's going to be 2 days of filming and 3 days of editing, so it's say $4,000. Right. They're like, oh well, yeah, like we don't have we're thinking under $2,000. I'm like, okay, well, we can do a smaller project and it'll be 1 day of filming and only 1 day of editing, and then I can do it for $1,800. But you're not going to get this.
But this is all you're going to get, and they're like, all right, figure it out. Because those people move. They go, okay, well then how do give me a day. I'm going to figure out how to get X. Right. Let me get that extra $1,800. No, it is. Everything's up for negotiation, but you have to have a value of.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is all. I mean, I'm very new. I mean, I'm learning a lot. You know, I have a lot of really good. Like mentorship around me and like just books I'm reading and stuff, and then learning a lot from Michael, and then just like even just going to the what do you call that Awaken the business Pathfinder. Yeah, just even going that once or twice. Well, that's just like so much information, so much learning. I gotta go to the next one. was gone for the last one.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, I didn't make it to the last one.
Let me know next time it is. I think I get the emails still, but
well, we have a merge conference coming up. You come to that. That's our men's conference.
Huh.
Yeah. So you jump into Manmaker.
Yeah.
You're local, so it'll be easier to do because we're bringing in for Manmaker, bringing in a bunch of guys from there to go to Emerge.
Okay.
And then Emerge is our men's conference. So basically that's where it's just dudes.
Yeah.
And we have 2.5 days of everything a guy needs to build community, shed off limitations, do the whole thing, worship, all that. Bonfires, competition, connection, all that.
Yeah.
We're doing it up in Garden Valley this year.
Okay.
First time we're doing it in this area.
Okay.
It's normally down in San Diego, and there's like 3,000 guys that go down there. We've been doing it for like 14 years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the thing I really appreciate it, especially without being a religious guy. But it's just like as soon as I went, I was like, man, the community here is so strong.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. And just like the very like the ambitious guys and just like we have our religious side, we love Jesus, but we're also we're trying to build.
Yeah. Well, it's more so because of that relationship that I'm doing this now. Yeah. Whereas before it was more like existential. I know I'm supposed to do something and I'm supposed to make my life good. Yeah. You're supposed to get married and have kids, but I'm like, what does that actually look like? But now that I have a relationship with Jesus, you're like, I'm going full tilt because because that's what we should do. Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah, the men's conference is coming up. So that one's in May. Myself, Greg, a bunch of other.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm definitely gonna check out the whole Manmaker stuff, and I mean, I think the stuff that Greg's doing is great.
It is,
and so if I can, if there's a way to afford the programs and stuff, I know I can learn so much.
I've been in it for 6 months now, and like thank God I've been able to be around him more. Just being on those calls, man, has been. And then what's cool is you actually you catch more than you're taught. Right. So like you're catching a lot of this. Like you're hearing guys do all this stuff. You're like partnering with them. You're being a little vulnerable and like you're like, hey, I'm just starting this out, but I don't know where to go from here. Yeah. Like feeling super insecure about actually taking the next step. And someone's like, yeah, I just did that 6 months ago. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. You're catching a lot of stuff. So I think that's the cool part of it as far as the community goes. Because that's the only reason I get to say, like, I get to sit here the way I am today because of that community. Right. So if you can get around that more. Yeah. Yeah. I've always known it's just like, just get around people that are better than you, like learn from people that are doing it and that are actually doing it. Yeah. Yeah. Not the courses, building courses. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the frustrating, like I was talking to my friend Julie. She's like, also, this is the most wholesome podcast you've done. That's pretty close. There's one. You're not drunk. Yeah. See, I've had a few of those, but we still talk a lot about pussy and drugs. Oh yeah, yeah. No, I had the real estate agent. She's pretty squeaky clean. Yeah. And so I was just like, hey mate, let me know. Like, do you want me not to swear? She's like, I don't care if you swear, but it was just like it was definitely a little more clean. Yeah. Oriented, but yeah. No, that's what I love. Is like all over the board. I do like, for one, but in music, I don't think it was a tradable skill set, but now it's like a tradable skill set. Oh, yeah. And that's one thing I really like. So, like, I'm going to start trading for tattoos. But in general, it's like I can trade in almost any business field. Yeah. And my buddy Justin Evans, who has helped me a lot. He's doing a podcast too, but he built a YouTube channel with like 2 million subscribers. So he has like a lot of information on that stuff. But he just met this guy, Justin Wenzel. He's in the fitness coaching space. You were telling me about him. Yeah. And he's like trading. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do your like video editing and thumbnails. And then he's helping him code, so it's just like, oh yeah, we're trading stuff. Yeah. And that's the barter system, man. Yeah. That's like, we don't need money. We just need to like, can I just get... just trade this a little bit. I love that. And so that's how my career started. And I was talking to him about, so Justin Wenzel just started podcasting, and I was just like, man, he just got this guy from As I Lay Dying, I think, or something on, but it was like a big artist. Yeah. But I was like, man, I wish I could go and just help him with a couple tips and tricks. And he's like, dude, I'll connect you. And so I'm supposed to have a phone call with him and just help. He's like, dude, I can't handle certain things about how he filmed the podcast. Or I was like, dude, I'd be happy to just pro bono, just like help him set up his lights, right? Like he already has the guide
running it, there's just a few tips that.
Some minor tweaks that could probably be the reason why
and so I'm supposed to have a call with him. Like, yeah, it's cool. It's just like how like the more you offer just to help out, the more connections you make, etc. So
it's funny how that works. Yeah, the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah.
It's always return, but it's not equal.
Right.
It's typically more than you get.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be dope. Yeah, keep making the connections because I think you're further along than you think.
Yeah, we're getting
it. Heads up, you're killing it.
Yeah. Well, my sister was speaking of connections, she was talking about how she runs a charity that I like do video for called One World Medicine Clinic, and they go once a year to India and they put on a clinic and they sponsor kids like year round and stuff.
Yeah, cool.
They've been doing it. Her and her doctor friend Rav been doing it for 10 or 12 years, but so it's getting bigger. It's like naturally getting bigger. And so then I go and do like the video and put that out and stuff. And so she's doing a fundraiser in Scottsdale. So it's her first one down there.
Nice.
And so going down there to like video it and participate, but she's like, holy crap. She's like, oh, just in the last month, she's like, I don't know how I keep meeting these people that are like super well connected. She's like, I went out and I was like at this bar and I'm like with like senators from Arizona. And then they're like, oh yeah, what's your fun? You know, like, and it's crazy how people want to get involved in charities. And so she's like making all these connections.
Generous, man. People are definitely generous. For some people, for their own self-interest, because they're like, they recognize the benefits of doing a charity. And some people because they're just literally like, I've been looking to help this type of thing and I didn't know how, and I'm glad you connected. Like, dude, 100%. It's funny because what do they say? So I don't believe in coincidence. Yeah. So I think it's a common incidence. It's like,
oh, that's cool.
Right? It's like coincidence, common incidence. So two things that are supposed to merge happen at that time that they're supposed to. Yeah. So if you were even saying, you're like, if you toss something out, like you have this idea and you toss it out and you reject it, you're basically then when you get a coincidence, you're rejecting that two things that were supposed to meet around this time frame or happen to like start to converge because it was starting to move in that direction. Yeah. So you needed each other. So like she's starting to move in this direction. She has to continue to move in the momentum because you basically, it's like, just so happenstance I'm in a room with two senators. Were you in a room with two senators 8 years ago? No. Yeah. You're in right now. Right. Run it. Like take advantage of it and run it and then see where those connections go. And then if the door stops, this is more of how I typically talk through with people. If the door stops, then you go, okay, is it because that's as far as that was supposed to go and I need to see where these connections can take us elsewhere? Or am I supposed to take the resistance that I'm feeling and open it so I can actually like build some tolerance to get to the next level? Yeah. It's such a cool phenomenon, but your sister is like obviously on a track that other people are seeing and in on. And it just so happens that they're all starting to get on the same train. Yeah. Okay. So just push the train along.
And then, then the people that are supposed to get on that train, you're going to meet.
And then there's another stop, but you'll never get to that next stop unless you let these other people get on the train and show you where the next stop is. Yeah. And be like, hey, we got to stop here to pick up this guy. Well, you wouldn't know to go pick up that guy unless so it's like a whole compound effect. Yeah. It's fun when you start to realize that and have confidence in it. But if you reject it and toss it away, you're like, I can't do any of this. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm not meant to. Or, oh, that just so happened. That person, cool. But I'll wait for the next person because I keep asking or praying for this next person. Right. You're like, yeah, but it showed you. It was like what's the story with like the guy goes, obviously I get really excited about this stuff. There's a story where this guy's in the middle of the ocean and he's like, he's drowning, he's lost. And he's like, God, if you're real, just help me. God, help me, send me your hand. He's like, give me your hand, God. And then all of a sudden a boat comes by and the guy's like, do you need any help? He's like, no, God's going to save me. And the boat leaves and the guy's like drowning. And he's like, God, why won't you just help me, God? And he comes by and a guy in a rowboat comes through and he's like, hey, do you need some help? He's like, no, God's going to save me. And he leaves. And then he's still doing it. He's like, God, why? Just help me, please. And then this cruise ship drives by and they throw a life preserver out. And they're like, we got you. He's like, no, God's going to save me. And then he drowns. And he gets in front of God and he's like, God, where were you? He goes, dude, I sent you 3 options.
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's like that scenario. You're like,
yeah, that is wild. It's like, because it's like you put it in your head, oh, I need this. And if you put those blinders on, you're not noticing that, that form of help came in something, that you weren't expecting.
Completely different. Yeah. And I'm asking for this. If you call it manifestation, I understand it's God answering a prayer because it's in line with what he has for you.
Yeah.
Dude, then open up. It's like, even our connection has been really cool. Because every time we get together, I learn something new. I'm like encouraged by what you're doing and how you're going about stuff.
Yeah, same.
Like, so it's even
I never thought I'd have a Christian friend.
Hey.
Just kidding. No, it's not my friends are Christian.
Not a cult friend. You're not having a cult friend, so it's fine. Yeah. So you don't want the Christians that don't drink.
Yeah. Dude, it was funny when I moved to San Diego because I was just so strict growing up, and so it was like because it's just like you were sinning if you were drinking beer, so there's just none of that. Like I never drank until I was 23.
I remember telling me that.
And but when I went to San Diego, I was pretty much left the church, but I was still like playing music. So I ended up playing with this church and their worship band, even though it was just like I'm on the outs, like I didn't care. But I still had fun. Like I love the community. It's just like that's for a while that's what I missed, and so now like building my own community is great.
Yeah.
So I really do love the community of a church and just the camaraderie and just lifting each other up. But they had this Bible study, and he was just like, oh yeah, beer in the Bible on Wednesdays. Yeah, we get together and drink a couple beers. And I was like, what? I'm like, you guys are drinking beer while you're studying the Bible?
Then a couple of sirens go off.
Yeah.
Minute.
I was like, how dare you? But then I was like, this is awesome. Where was this?
How dare you? But Tuesday?
Yeah. And I remember a kid from Alabama. He was just like, man, I feel the closest to God. I smoke weed and I get out. I sit on my roof and, when I pray, I just talk to him and I just feel so close. And I was like, that is such sacrilege. Like you're taking a drug.
Somebody who's not even a part of that anymore is like, it's wrong. It's totally wrong.
I know, exactly. But now looking at it, it's just like, you
walk away with your mushrooms. You're like, that's terrible.
As one who has seen God on mushrooms, like, now I get it.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Sweet, dude. Let's wrap this up. You want to plug anything, or I don't really?
What was that?
I used to do that. I was like, you want to plug anything? And then I realized like none of my friends like were doing it. What's your?
That's probably one of the funniest things. You want to plug anything, or something?
I also realized nobody listens to the end. No, it's because you're starting. Are you starting another fitness program?
I'm relaunching my fitness coaching program. So it's called The Club, and I have a whole vision of what that's going to turn into. Just got to take it one step at a time. Right. So
hit me up again when you do, because
I will. So when it's live, but you can follow me now on the Mitch Arce on Instagram and LinkedIn. I guess you can find me.
Oh yeah, I need to do it LinkedIn.
Yeah. So I'll be launching in the next few weeks. So. Be good stuff. Follow me. Mostly a lot of what we talked about, but a lot on fueling well, moving well, and recovering well. And then I do it mostly for entrepreneurs and people who would rather pay for their health now rather than paying for their health later.
Yeah.
So that's basically kind of my way of going about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, you're looking fit, so I believe you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, it's all inflatable, though. I just pump up in the morning.
You're what, 6'2"?
Yeah.
You're a little taller than me,
6'2"-ish.
And what do you weigh?
210 right now.
Okay. That was like my goal. I was trying to get up to 210.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot fucking gain. I can't bust 193. I've been sitting at 193 for like a month. And I keep eating, and I just...
I was at 195 for the longest time, and then just changed a couple things and just got after it. Yeah. I got with a couple bodybuilder guys, started eating a little differently, and then
nice.
Popped through.
Yeah, I've never been over 2, and I was like, gotta get there.
Yeah. It's fun. It's heavy.
Yeah.
6'2", 210 is, you can feel it, but yeah, I'm doing a Spartan race in August in Payette. Payette. You can tell I'm not from here. Payette. So I also have to get ready for that, and I'll probably drop back down a little bit because 210 pounds for 12 miles is unless I'm running and I can like get on it. You know, like Nick Bear.
Yeah.
You know who that is? He's Nick Bear. He's a lot like I think he's an endurance runner, but he's also jacked.
Huh.
So he like totally breaks the norm on.
Right.
And I think we're about the same height.
Yeah.
But he's jacked. He's like he totally breaks the paradigm on like long distance running.
Wow. So yeah, I want to get up to about 210, and then I was planning on cutting down to maybe 190. In my next like cycle. Yeah. But I want to get up there.
When you're on trend, you just do your next cycle, and you're just deballing it and get all this steroids and
yeah, dude, I didn't know the phrase gear until recently.
Really?
And I was talking to some kid, and I was just when I say gear, I'm talking photo gear.
Yeah.
So I was just like, dude, I've just been spending all my money on gear, and he's like, Jesus, man.
That would have been terrible if he's like, well, you're spending it on the wrong thing.
Yeah, he's like, because I'm looking at you. And it
are you? He goes, you're spending it, but are you using it?
Yeah, exactly. and then when I was like, oh yeah, I'm like geared up, and so.
Yeah. So
cool, man.
Well,
thanks, dude.
Thanks for doing this.
Nobody.